This episode is about minutes 116 through 120 of The Rise of Skywalker, with returning guests James Waterman and Justin Scheid from the Band Batch. Hello there, and welcome to Star Wars Music Minute, where we celebrate the music and sound of Star Wars 5 cinematic minutes at a time. I'm Chrysanthi Tan, you can call me Xanthi, and today is all about minutes 116 through 120 of Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. In this excerpt of the film, Palpatine tosses Ben Solo to the side and unleashes force lightning on the Resistance fleet. Rey connects with the cosmic force and hears the voices of past Jedi, lifting her up. Sidious declares that he is all the Sith, and Rey retorts that she is all the Jedi. Then Palpatine has a really bad time as he disintegrates from his own force lightning being turned back on him. Today's guests are my dear friends James Waterman and Justin Scheid, both composers, people I went to music school with. Percussionist is what James is. Justin's electronic music tech, synth genius, and flute player. Yeah. So, yeah, it's going to be a fun episode. Welcome back, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Woo! Can't wait.
It's always fun to be on this version of the podcast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as opposed to the Band Batch streams.
It's so different.
Right.
These are like so different and relaxed. The other ones get heated and it's fun. It's just a different vibe. I love it.
That's right.
Yeah,
we've solidified. I think at least for me, I feel like I'm coming to these types of streams like more at peace with the medium. You know, like I've already formed my opinion and I've put it to rest, and I've watched the movie a number of times, and I feel the way I feel about the movie, either or they're good or bad. When we're reviewing the shows on a weekly basis, I have a lot of like hopes and dreams of what I hope will happen.
Yeah, and it's a very of the moment response.
Yes,
in the moment
exactly.
responses. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. So I'm coming here as a peaceful. I'm coming in a little bit more like this. You know. So.
Good.
I'm
glad. Also, I think it probably helps that there's also not live chat to manage at the same time.
That's right. That's correct.
Although I'd say chat is not usually what incites like arguments.
No. Discussions. Not arguments. Discussions.
Right.
Passionate discussions.
Mm-hmm. And that's what we're all about. And today, as we were saying right before this episode started, Justin was saying we're going to explore a lot of this together. There are some cool sound design lots of cool things to listen to and speculate about, of course. So why don't we just start out with listening to the beginning of the minutes?
Yeah.
Great.
Where did they get all these fighter craft? They have no navy.
It's not a navy, sir. It's just people.
So long, Sky Trash.
Who's that flyer?
Take a guess, Spice Runner.
Okay, there's like already so much that happened.
Man, watching these minutes was a weird emotional roller coaster.
That's right.
You just like plop us right in the middle of this like weird moment.
I know.
Where immediately we hear like what's happening, and then we'll get to the rest of them. But.
Yeah.
I just wanted Zori to keep coming up with Star Warsy random nicknames to call people.
Yeah. What were they? Sky
Trash. Mm-hmm. Good Spice Runner. Come on, you scoundrel. Come on, you
nerve herder.
You
Sky Trash.
You.
Sky Trash feels most similar to Ahsoka's. Oh, Sky Guy. I guess okay. Sky Guy's a little more, probably more endearing than Sky Trash. Yeah. Well, it's not a Navy, sir. It's just people. I remember my first watch of this movie, really liking that line.
I thought it was, again, we'll come in here. I'm going to try to approach today's stream with as much peace and acceptance as possible. but I have to say that in this little chunk that we're going to talk about today, outside of the context of the movie, like I have to say, like there's some great Star Wars going on in these 5 minutes. I'm reminded by by friend of the show, Steele Saunders, shortly after The Rise of Skywalker came out. He did like a review of The Rise of Skywalker, but he did it in chunks and gave ratings to the specific, like, I think it was like in 5 minutes or something like that, 5 minutes at a time or something like that. And he just gave ratings for each 5 minutes of the film or something like that.
That's funny.
And he surprised himself that he was giving every 5 minute chunk like pretty high ratings. And he's like, this is weird because I don't really like this movie that much, but I'm rating all these individual chunks of the movie quite highly in many ways. So he's like, how do I not like and it's like, it's almost like the movie is better than the sum of its parts, right? You know, like, so it's interesting because I'm like, actually, there's some good stuff going on in this little section. Good musical cues and good moments. So I think I like that line, like you said, like the people line. That's a really there's something at its core that's really powerful. It's like the Empire is can't fight against people in relation, like people that form bonds and friends. Like I'm reminded of Palpatine's line in Return of the Jedi, which is like, and your faith in your friends is your weakness, right? Yeah. And that's ultimately like where he finds his downfall is in Luke and Vader and Anakin's love for one another, familiar love, right? Whether that be friendship or love or just human connections, Palpatine will never understand, right? And that's just like, it's not something that's in what he can even consider because he doesn't understand what it's like to actually form bonds with other beings, you know? And so I really enjoy that that's represented here, which is like, the Empire or the First Order can do all they can to try to seize control of the galaxy, but they just can't fight the power of people and, you know, their care for one another. And what brings all those people there? Well, their love for Lando Calrissian and like his personal connection to everyone. Which again, some of this is like half-baked. You're just like, I don't know how much a lot of this landed, you know, like in the context of the movie, but I get the spirit of where it's all coming from, which is like, there's the people versus the people that, you know, the people versus the power, right?
Yeah, and it's that whole, you know, I'm sure First Order coming from such strict militarism and like order and all these things like that. And not just fighting random people, we would say, that all know how to fly fighter jets and stuff like that, space jets. But like the scatterness of it all, I'm sure they just can't comprehend what the heck is going on and fight something like that.
Right.
Which is just, you know, we could. We're not here to pick apart dialogue, but we're here to pick apart music, which is its own fun.
That's true. Dialogue is fair game, though. I will musically point out that this thing we hear at the very beginning.
Where did they get all these fighter craft? They have no navy.
It's not a navy, sir. It's just people.
Is actually. We already have an incidental motif right out the gate, and that is Really Bad Feeling. Strident motif that occurs on a few occasions in TROS, most notably Cut 5M08 and momentarily during the Rey-Ben team up on Exegol. But so
and then it's like da da dun 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 da da dum bum. Da-da-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Da-da-da, right? Isn't that how the motif goes?
Yeah.
That was the scrapped version. That we found that in the Williams sketches.
Sorry, derailed us.
You know how this scene landed?
No, I mean, the scene is kind of the final countdown, though. You know, like
it really is.
Well, it's the cap on your left from Avengers Endgame.
Right. It's the like, running.
Hey, we're all here, you know, we're all here to fight kind of a thing. And so that theme, going back into like what they're saying, it's just people. We get what is this just the main part of just the main Star Wars theme? Is there a name for this? Yeah,
it's the B section of the main theme.
Right. It's just the B
which we normally only hear in the main crawl.
I was gonna say I don't know if we've heard that often in these types of contexts where it's like just straight up the main title being played during a major action scene. But it's possible.
I mean, the A section, yes, but the B section is unusual to hear. So
Yeah,
it
not
is
so much
definitely
that part.
notable. Mhm.
Right.
And it's got this triumphant fanfare kind of a feel. It's, rally the troops and the, long live the rebellion. Here we go, attack kind of a feel.
Yeah.
Um, this,
Hey,
this
if there's going to be
whole-
anywhere to play the Star Wars main title theme, it's in the last fight of the last movie, right? Do
It's
it.
true.
Bringing out the big guns.
Right?
Yeah.
And actually, in these 5 minutes, we've got a lot of like classic themes coming back,
Totally.
which is fun.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Really,
Like a John
really.
Williams greatest hits.
That's right.
Star
A little
Wars
bit.
hits.
Yeah, it
Little
was
bit.
like Star Wars live in concert.
It's just, yeah,
Yeah.
just missing the Cantina band.
Just
out
missing
of
the
nowhere.
LA Phil.
Max Rebo flies in.
Oh man. Yeah.
This, I mean, they might as well. Some of this stuff was
might as
just
well
so.
been part
Some of
of
this stuff was
it.
so shameless. It was just like you might as well just pulled it all out.
Well, I'm surprised too that with like Babu Frick, who I adored.
Oh my
with all
God,
my
he's the
heart,
best
just
part of
like,
this movie.
"Wah!" He's screaming there.
So good.
I'm surprised we also didn't get like a porg just somewhere.
I know. Yeah. No. I am.
Also
I am
screaming.
surprised that we didn't get a porg.
Porg and look, it's Watto. Watto appears to flying
Wow.
through. Or,
Watto is
it's
certain
like,
suddenly like
hey, it's
interested
the
in
guys from
defending.
the bar. They're there.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Okay, I'm gonna keep playing, but I have kind of gone back. So here's the B theme. Dee-dee, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee.
Sky trash.
Upper strings join.
Take a guess, Spice Runner.
Immediate modulation.
I know. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and now we're on Exegol, like in the Sith auditorium. Just got
The
real.
Sith auditorium.
Yeah.
Man, that stuff is cool.
Auditorium.
I gotta say, like all the Sith stuff on Exegol, it's just like I feel like there's like lore opportunity there that just never got displayed or shown in this movie. Like,
Yeah.
so apparently there's a bunch of Sith cultists that they didn't really explain to the audience or show. That's awesome. That's sick. Like, that's cool. Man, just put it in the movie. I feel like this movie is just
Matching
too short.
robes and everything. It's too
This
short.
movie did not. This movie did not need to be as short as it. It got cut down. What is it? It's shorter than Last Jedi, isn't it? I don't know if you know that.
I think it is a little. I think it is a little bit shorter, just because I'm thinking Last Jedi season had like 31 episodes, and this one will only have 29.
They should have just returned to the King man. Seriously, it's the last movie. Let's go. Let's like give us like a
Counterpoint.
bunch.
I don't know that I like that the Star Wars movies are more or less in the same general ballpark of time. I wouldn't want one to be a clear outlier. But I agree that it was also too short.
I mean, it's already a
for what they
clear
stuck into it.
outlier in that all the other movies don't suck and this one does.
James.
But no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It doesn't suck. Okay, that's too harsh. That's too harsh.
It's okay. I counted that. Last Jedi sucked too, so it's.
Oh, what?
Them's fighting words.
I think of it better now, but I yeah. Did
Yeah,
not
I remember
grasp
you
that
having
one well.
troubled thoughts at first, Justin.
Yeah.
Back then.
And continue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair. Okay.
I'll turn the shade down a little bit. But I guess anyway, I'm just trying to say that I really like the Sith auditorium stuff, and I really like that environment, and I wish I knew more about everything that was going on behind the scenes, and yeah, I mean,
You know what I
even
would-
a flashback would have been cool, like, oh, this is what's
Yeah.
been happening for the last 40 years over here on Exegol, and just like showed us, kind of like how they show those long montages in the Lord of the Rings about how like Mordor is being formed, because that's what I think. Like Exegol is like Star Wars Mordor, right? Like it's like this ancient being that is coming back in a fraction of himself, and there's these like loyalists that are being forged and out of the fires of the depths of whatever to just maintain this operation, and just by sheer force and evil and hatred, they're keeping this alive. And that's what all these cultists are doing. That's how they're building like the biggest army of ridiculous Star Destroyers ever seen. It's because they just are sheer numbers of people that are like loyal to the Sith and to what, that came out of the corner, every dark corner of the galaxy to find this place. I don't know. It's just a cool idea. I just wanted to know more about it.
And to think that there were only 2 wayfinders. So how did they must have either already been there or they took turns.
I think the connection between the Sith stuff and the army is what is maybe the most, I have to hand wave the most, because I don't know, it's not always like in the original trilogy, the connection, like the army stuff seems to operate, at least to the people who are in the Empire and not in the Emperor or Vader's inner circle. It seems to be agnostic. They know that the Emperor and Vader are weird religious guys, but here it feels like they're all in on it. They're all
They're all,
even
like,
if they're not all powerful.
This is a Sith army at this point, is what this is.
It's
right.
It's kind of
an army of the Sith.
This is why I've been calling for a while. Just give us a show or something that really delves into that. We've gotten so many beautiful shows that have fleshed out how the Empire has formed, Andor, Bad Batch, even some of Rebels, things like that, where you get to see this is how all this pieced together. But be cool just to give us an Exegol show, it'd be so sweet.
Yeah.
Just like let's see these cultists creating this crazy thing out there, It's such a weird thing.
I feel like we've only gotten hints of it through like the Grogu tale and the cloning and the Project Necromancer.
Little
we're
hints.
like, okay, we're almost there. We're almost to the somehow, and we steered course again. Kind of a thing.
Right. And that seems to boil
agree.
more down to the Palpatine thing, but I want to know who built all these freaking Star Destroyers. Like, that's what I want to see.
Mini Death Stars. And put a Death Star on all of them.
Considering what we know through Andor about just how logistically impossible building the very first Death Star was, and you're telling me there's like how many? What's like the official number of how many Death Stars, Star Destroyers they have? Isn't it? It's like tens of thousands or something.
And each
like
of them
that?
with a planet-killing weapon. But then again, consider the rate of like the exponential or whatever rate of like
technology.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of scary.
works.
Like
it's like the movie Alien, and then they're like, what are we gonna do for the sequel?
Aliens, right?
Plural.
We've
already had a Star Killer base. What do we do with after Star Killer base? Lots of Star Killer bases.
Right. Yeah, it's like Star Wars is approaching the singularity right now with how rapid their technological, we're so off topic, but
No, it's okay. No, but getting back into this, the things that I wish would have happened. Anthony, I know you're going to play the minutes in just a second, but going into this Sith cultist auditorium kind of a thing, we hear them chanting. Just not really like a sing-songy or anything. There's no melody. They're just like saying words. That comes right next here, right?
yeah.
Let's hear it for a second.
Okay.
You can play that for us.
So first we have Emperor,
Palpatine,
the Emperor.
number one.
and then, Sith Whispers.
So what this reminds me of, first of all, Palpatheme number one. And me and the Palpatheme. I love the Palpatheme. There's I think 3 we hear in this. So that's number one. In starting on a D flat this round. Right. Okay, so we go. Okay, so this is Star Wars Episode 9. Go back to Star Wars Episode 1, where we have what this is reminiscent and reminds me of is Darth Maul. Thank you. Xanthi with that shirt is when it's the dunk 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 dunk, that classic just like solo timbale kind of or
Yes.
like high tom kind of comes in, and we hear the
Yes.
That's
those
right.
like that whispering, right? Doing,
yes.
I can't tell
Cool.
if that's what they're doing, and if
I
it's
have an
not
answer.
what they're doing, I wish it is.
It
Is
is.
it what they're doing? Okay, cool. Because that is a great like throwback. For the
Really?
music nerds.
It is Sith
That is-
Whispers,
Yeah.
derived from Duel of the Fates theme and Qui-Gon's Noble End Q, tracked at various points
Ashkaban,
earlier in The
Jedi,
Phantom
Throwback.
Menace, revived in TROS. Yep.
Dude, what? That's awesome.
Okay, cool.
See, I told
was
you,
hoping
I told
that's
you,
what it was.
man. I'm gonna end up loving this movie at one point. I swear. Eventually, I will love this movie. You know,
I think what it is,
I'll
James,
I'll
is-
stop wearing this shirt ironically.
No, I think what it is, James, is I agree with what your friend said. It does a lot of really awesome, cool things in the moments when you microscope it, and then when you look at it, you're at the whole. Sometimes it's like,
Right.
wait,
Right.
hold on, kind of a thing.
Right.
This is a lot to string together, but
Really interesting,
yeah,
isn't it?
that I
Is
think
awesome.
that's so props to I'm gonna hand props to John Williams and team for
Yeah.
this one if they thought
And the LA Master Chorale, right?
yeah
Probably.
Probably, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of friends that recorded on this movie.
And
so that's-
and here the timpani hits like are also
Very-
like Justin said, recalling
great.
the Darth Maul one. Yeah, the
those
timpani hits
sound
are
great.
funny to me. Like we also hear them when we see the Knights of Ren earlier, when it's like,
Yep.
yeah. I don't know.
Why are they
I guess
funny, Xanthi?
they're funny because I think they're funny when we see the Knights of Ren, just because the Knights of Ren look like bad boys trying to be cool or something. Like
Have you
trying to be.
Can I ask you a question? Have you that one scene where they walk back past those First Order members,
Mhm.
stormtroopers, and there is something that is said in that by the like they say either like, "Who is that? That's the Knights of Ren," and then they say something after that. Have you already had
Ghouls.
that? Yeah, wait, it's ghouls, right? With
I
a
think
G?
it is. Yeah.
Which is did you talk about that on that episode?
Probably beginning of the movie.
I'm so curious because it could either be cool or
Oh.
ghouls, which is both of them are pretty funny.
That is
right?
pretty funny. Yeah.
Right?
I think it was ghouls, and I thought, I think
Which
Pride
is
said it.
hilarious.
Ghouls.
Those are the Knights of Ren.
Oh, maybe Hawk said it.
Ghouls.
Yeah,
Cool.
Both are kind of nerdy.
they are.
They're ghouls.
We're cool ghouls.
We're cool ghouls. They're so silly,
silly.
the Knights of Ren. We're just a bunch of ghouls. It's just
Cool
like,
ghouls.
yeah, it's like you guys are not cool at all. Anyway,
Yeah, that's why I associate this timpani with that. So, yeah. Sorry, not to bash on your instrument, James.
that's funny. I get it.
Get it?
I get it.
Oh, I get it.
Get it? Anthony, you made a joke.
An unintentional.
Unintentional pun.
That was great.
Okay, I'm going to
great.
keep playing right where we left off. So we've just been hearing Sith Whispers.
As once I fell, so falls the last Skywalker.
Rude.
There's Kylo Ren's theme. It's the last time we ever hear it, right?
Okay, that was actually a discussion question that I was going to ask. So what's happening here is Palpatine is is this when Palpatine
Great. That is a great still.
Yeah, like Ben Solo looks like a puppet in the distance. Like, yeah, it is pretty funny. Yeah, so he's
And it
just
just
gotten
says grunts.
away.
Damn, you already called it as the Kylo theme. I was gonna joke and say, how did they get the Acolyte theme? They predicted the Acolyte theme all the way back in Rise of Skywalker.
So my question was going to be, do you hear it as Kylo Ren's aggressive theme or Kylo Ren's redeemed theme?
Remind me of the difference.
Yeah, so the aggressive theme is basically a minor chord second inversion, so with a sharp 4. And then the redeemed theme, this is how I just remember it, is basically like a major 7th chord. I feel like if we take what the notes are being played here, so we're getting, sorry, yes, you're right. We're getting B flat, sorry, whoa. The beginning of it is the redeemed.
But it's whatever that pedal.
But then the end is
the background
is the aggressive.
And all that just makes it really dark and tragic and epically. Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm here definitely hearing the aggressive side of things.
I agree that it sounds
also
more aggressive, but then just notes-wise, the beginning of it does start as the redeemed, but then it just, instead of, it just does a wrong.
Well, it very much fits thematically what's happening right there. You know what I mean? It's like ultimately Kylo redeemed himself, but his fate was already sealed. When he chose the dark side, right? And once it's a path that you cannot return from, right? That's the whole idea of the dark side. Like you can't. It will bring you to a point where you will, unfortunately, once you start down that path, you're gonna die. It's basically what is kind of boiling it down to is like, and that theme kind of echoes and tells the viewer like, even though he's Ben Solo right now, this is in large part happening right now because of who he became, which was Kylo Ren. And that's kind of how I read that emotionally, thematically, what's happening there. It's almost like it's Kylo Ren that threw him down that pit. Not so much. I mean, of course it's the Emperor, but Kylo Ren led him to team up with the Emperor and to take on the destiny of his grandfather, So it's interesting.
Yeah, it's like we hear the beginning of the redeemed theme, but he still can't shake his past completely.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like it's almost like the fates are saying you don't get to be the hero, unfortunately. He ultimately does by sacrificing himself to Rey, right? Mm-hmm. But he's not going to be the one that defeats the evil. It's going to be the spawn of the Emperor that does. I don't really know how that fits into the theme here, but but I don't know. Anyway, oh well.
So yeah, so falleth the House of Skywalker.
Right.
Down a hole.
Right.
Quite literally.
Which a lot of people had a big problem.
Is that the rise of Skywalker? Is when he climbs back up? Is that what we're referring to?
I think that would be like the ascension of Skywalker.
The ascension at the very end where she takes
climb of Skywalker.
Yeah.
The upper body strength exercise of Skywalker.
Man with a broken back.
That's arm day for Skywalker. I do think a lot of people did have an issue with the positioning of just like the Skywalker, like Palpatine's bloodline basically wiped out all the Skywalkers and ended up being his progeny ended up, being the most powerful Jedi in the galaxy. So it's kind of an interesting choice that a Palpatine ends up, But I mean, I get that she thematically dispels that heritage and takes on the Skywalker
I hadn't
name.
thought about that. Actually, I don't think I've actually thought of it like that. That's a good point. The Palpatines win.
The Palpatines won.
They won. Well, there you go. All right. Well,
that's the moral. Yeah, just the end credits are just all Palpatine.
They won.
I mean, yeah.
Huh.
Right?
I can't remember which guest said this, but they alerted me to the existence of a movement of people that believe that this movie should have Rey should have kept the Palpatine name and then like rehabilitated the image of the Palpatines. Yeah, no, that's what I said. Like, nah.
I think of some real world examples where people have tried that and that doesn't work. That doesn't work.
I'm going to keep playing.
Oh, man.
Some wild.
Do not fear their feeble attack, my faithful.
We're hearing the Emperor theme.
Palpatine theme too?
Okay, I'm pausing there for a second. That's the Justin moment. But we are hearing also in the background violin, Austin, like dugga-duggas. Yeah.
I feel like as a film composer, I wonder, and this is me with my very limited experience in writing for film in a, I would say, proper sense kind of a thing. Independent stuff I've done where it's like my own time, my own way. I don't gotta, deal with everything else that goes into a production like this.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious if film composers and people that watch this later, please comment. I'm very curious if they like in their spare time write incidental transitional things for fun. Like how many times has John Williams had to like, okay, and now everybody rises in tension, kind of a thing where it's like, okay, give me tension number 35. Let me put it here. I did this one like 10 years ago. No one's going to remember it. You know what I mean? Like, and then add the Palpatine theme underneath kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Yeah,
how many
just like
of
as
those,
pre-programmed like presets, like you do
Right,
on a
it's
video
like a
editor.
functional passage, right?
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and there's only
Like,
so
here's
many
dissolve,
ways you
here's
can write that
crossfade.
functional passage, right? It's kind of like having
Exactly.
if you're a dubstep artist, how many ways can you write a drop, right? Like
Right.
every song has a
That's-
drop in it,
So you might and a riser, so
Right. No, that's so funny you say that because when I'm messing around with like even like house music or playing with those kinds of things, like, okay, we've done that. How many
Right.
times? It's like, okay, this is how I transition into something.
Right.
And trying to find something different. So I'm always like, oh, I got to make this one. Ooh, I'm going to pitch this noise down. It'll be different than, what it used to be from the sample. But yeah, I wonder if it's like that's got to be a fun, like, if I was teaching film music, I would say like, write me 10 transitional orchestral swells over the weekend that can like fit in a variety of tense action scenes. That's got to
cool.
be I'm curious if that's like, Bach would write a fugue in the morning. Like we just write.
just to practice.
Risers.
Like here's the key you need to, like here's where you start, here's where you need to end up.
Endless risers, and I'm sure the other one I always wonder is impacts, like those.
Yeah.
Boom, the big drums. Like how many of those can we like make them different so we don't have to pay licensing for each?
Well, how would you describe the technique that's being used here? I can play it again.
It's like, yeah, play it for us again.
Okay.
Will attack, my faithful. Nothing will stop the return of the Sith.
Yeah, so it's like
It's really just coalescing. It's really just pausing on and
let's
out.
add the arpeggiating tremolo strings. Check. Let's add. We got the recognizable theme underneath, very low, menacing, driving us forward. We got white noise of all crazy, percussion things coming in, or maybe not percussion, but like suspension and texture coming in, kind of a thing, and then a final tension chord. Everyone hit the tension chord up high, down low, da da da, and then a cut, kind of a thing. And I've described how many of those transitions. I'm not picking on John Williams.
Yeah,
I'm just
I know.
Just for the sake of like how many, like there's a couple more in this segment, I think, where it's like, okay, here's another orchestral rise. Like I'm curious,
I mean,
what the process that those can be sometimes, or how many times, like, okay, how many times you just end up copying yourself.
well, okay, like if we broke it down, like I feel like I feel like there's adding more notes in the same amount of space.
Mhm.
So you're kind of quickening the pace of like how many notes are happening. There's just straight up increase in sound, crescendo.
Mm-hmm.
There's also
Pitch
increase.
as well.
Yes, increase in
rise.
pitch. There's also increase in
rise.
amplitude or volume. Sorry, I already said crescendo. What was the other one I was thinking? Crescendo. You could add more. Okay, you can do a crescendo of the existing instruments, or you can like build the crescendo by just adding more instruments as it goes.
Stagger entrances.
Staggering entrances, or even tiered, but like having it tiered to some peak. You can alter things about like like I can imagine you could add more like trills, and I guess that would be more busyness.
Can gliss upwards.
Yeah, which would be kind of a pitch thing, but
You
also
could add
would
non-pitched things.
Yep.
Sounds. And
yep,
this
just
case,
add
add a
more
suspended
more
cymbal?
sound, add more noise.
suspended cymbal, timpani roll,
Uh-huh.
bass drum roll. Got a
Yep.
rumble in there.
The
you know.
tremolo.
Snare drum.
I'm gonna make a plugin. The instant rising yeast is what I'm gonna call it. Instant rising. Or
It's just called yeast. That would be cool.
It's just gonna call it yeast, and it's just
That
like,
would be,
you can
but you gotta
add,
like spell it differently and have it like in all lower
Like
caps.
YEEST.
YEE,
Yeah.
yeah, and then I'll be like add tom, add timpani roll,
Yeah. Add
tremolo
cymbal.
strings,
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
kind of a thing,
And then you just like
generate-
have a bass that is like an octave lower than what you already have. Just
Yep.
yeah. What are
Add
some other
stuff.
ways?
You'll definitely meet the market of the ever expanding market of people that make music that are like, I could learn how to write music, but what if I just bought
But what if I did?
plugin? But what if I just
what
bought a
if-
plugin that did it?
But this
for me?
button already works.
yeah.
Let me just. And
And the YouTube ads would be like,
man.
music education degrees cost thousands of dollars.
Every now and then I'm
And
working on
take-
something and I'm like, I could just go get something. No, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna do it.
So funny. Do you want to be an artist, but you hate making art? It's like what it feels
Don't
like
have
sometimes.
20 years to dedicate to
Yeah.
practice.
It's like,
Like
you
the average
hate the
person takes
process
10 years to get pretty
of-
good at
of-
piano.
you hate process
you wanna-
but love product. Do we have the app for you? Insta-drop.
Oh, man.
Make those club hits in seconds.
we brought the shade today, y'all.
Okay, one that we haven't mentioned yet
man.
is using tension in harmony. So
Yes.
you can just literally add notes, like harmonically build tension, which is this, it does end on a diminished seventh chord. So C.
Yeah, and I feel like it's got to be something dissonant for something like this, because if we made like this all in C major, which would be kind of actually also fun to just try. How do you make something tense but like have it be like a major chord at the end? And every stream.
It's a deep cut.
Deep cut.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Anyway.
okay. In all seriousness, now, what is helping and driving this rising texture is that Palpatheme underneath is just I love it. And
Now, you could just call the plugin the Risers of Skywalker.
Riser of Skywalker. And this Palpatine theme is a half step lower than the one we just heard. This one starts on a C.
Interesting.
It's true.
And after, okay, it is leading. I'll go back so we can hear the lead up into. I'll put it on screen into
The fun part.
this moment. Yes. Big seismic energy thingy happens.
So,
Of course, prior to that,
Pretty
which is
sweet,
happening, of course, prior to that, Palpatine has to open the sunroof of the building.
Yep.
And we get a little window into the destruction happening outside. Okay, let's hear that.
People attack my faithful. Nothing will stop the return of the Sith!
My system systems are failing. Does anyone copy?
Okay, yeah. Justin,
So
you
quick,
specifically wanted these minutes.
So
I did specifically want this.
before we jump into the sound, can I just get some explanation for a second? Okay, so so Palpatine, how is he able to do this again? Okay, so he has absorbed Rey's life force or something like that. What
Ray,
happened?
he has sucked
Kylo,
the dyad of both of them.
He
of life
sucked
force.
the dyad. What does exactly that mean again?
Sucked the dyad out of them because they
He
had
sucked
a connection.
Okay, he
So
was
they
gonna
have, like, the-
okay, he was
go
gonna
ahead.
suck the
Sorry,
life force out of Rey, and then he notices, oh, they're a dyad. I'll get them both. Then he's even more rejuvenated.
And he just realizes it like in the moment, right? Like
Yeah,
he
I
didn't know
think
that
so.
until
I
they
think
were
so.
on Exegol, right? This
pretty
is just
sure
like this is a bonus.
pretty
Bonus
sure.
dyad.
Which I think is
Okay, got it.
interesting that Ben knew that before the Emperor did. And I think that
Right.
alone is very interesting. So
It
yeah,
is
his fingers regenerate. He's just good as a spring chicken, a young spring chicken.
And this is like a thing that I guess can
Oh
happen.
wait, that's interesting. Hold on. Who explains the dyad? Isn't it Snoke? Who explains that
is
they were
it?
a dyad?
Oh, wait.
No, yeah, right? Because
How does Ben
In one of the
Solo-
previous movies.
yeah,
it's
does it? I thought that
explained.
Palpatine explains it to him.
I thought
He's like, there's
was it
something
Snoke
about
or
her that I need to.
Palpatine?
Oh, is it? Did he?
Yeah, well, he takes advantage of it at least.
Okay, so but he's somehow in the Force, you can just like suck people's like life energy out of them, and especially if they have a strong connection to one another, that it amplifies it so much so that he can regenerate his physical body, and then he can also just like
Supercharge.
Listen, okay, I get it. I mean, Darth Vader was able to literally just stop what's their name's ship in Obi-Wan Kenobi, with his bare hands. So I can, it's probably not the worst thing to complain about. I get it.
I feel like I hear where you're going with this, and I agree. But
There's
like
like a
I feel
level
it's
up
like,
to it that's pretty wild. Like we haven't seen
right,
anything
and
like
even
that.
with
that's,
stopping the ship, that there's some struggle. There's the
Right.
Force. I've always felt, it's mystical and it's all around us, and we work
Right.
through all these things, but it's like,
You have to concentrate really hard.
yeah,
and then
there's
Exegol
something
also as
physical
an environment amplifies
it.
his.
It's a virgence
his-
for sure.
Okay.
Like Dagobah, but
Got it.
like dark. I was correct in that Sith Lord Darth Sidious was unaware that Ben Solo and Rey were a dyad until he inadvertently siphoned a fraction of their bond's life force. But James, you were correct. Supreme Leader Snoke, the dark side master of Solo's alter ego Kylo Ren, was aware that his apprentice had an equal in the light side of the Force. However, he incorrectly presumed that it was Solo's uncle, Jedi Master Luke Skywalker, before
Okay, that makes
realizing that it was a scavenger girl from Jakku.
I see.
So Palpatine does it. Does Palpatine know his relation to Rey?
His own relation to Rey or Ben's?
Yeah. Or
I think
his?
Palpatine does know that it is his granddaughter.
And so his plan initially was he wanted to like possess her body.
I think so.
It's one of the complaints about the movie. Is like I feel like we should just like definitely know at least that, right? Like what was his plan? Anyway, so okay,
then
so
he releases lightning,
he releases his light.
supercharges.
Okay,
Doesn't hit
okay.
any of his own ships, but he hits everybody else's ship,
Yes.
Pretty impressive.
which is awesome. And all the music cuts, which is
And all the music cuts. And I have to say, the sound is pretty nuts there.
Mm-hmm.
the sound is
Impressive.
crazy and it's funny at the same time too. There's a level of like, this is kind of why I love it so much and why I asked for this, because to me, on so many fun layers, is like, this is both brilliant and also really silly. And it's almost like it's trying to compete with what happened with the Holdo maneuver, which was brilliant, in my opinion. Something I absolutely loved about that movie,
Right.
Rise of Skywalker, was that moment and just that absolute soul-sucking silence was just so beautifully impactful that I
Right.
feel like they had to have a moment of like, we gotta top this and also have our moment of awesome sound effect kind of a thing. And it's like they chose the most memed thing, which has a title that I'm not necessarily agree or like. But like it just everything you don't do when you just turn up the preamps and you just clip the crap out of everything. It just feels like the editors like accidentally hit the dim button or like the plus 20 dB button and just poof, and hit, and they're like, you know, if the producer comes by, it's like that, and just walks off, and they're like, all right, this is what we got. You know, what if we
Right,
just make it
it's
more distorty? And what's even funnier about it is that besides being just so associated with memes and TikTok of the times and things like that, if you don't have theater grade subwoofers or just subwoofers at all, this is the weakest
You mean like,
thing. Because
yeah.
I listened in studying for this. I listened to it on my phone just for fun because I was cooking and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make lunch. I'm gonna remind myself. I listened to it on the phone, and yeah, my phone doesn't have a great sub range clearly. But then I put it on the TV, and even then on the TV, which isn't connected to any subwoofers or special sound system, not even that. So I had to come upstairs, put it in, actually have a subwoofer in my studio, and like feel that. I'm like, this is one of those feeling things. Like it was so great in the movie theater because it it hits you, but without that, all you hear is kind of a thing, just that clipping kind of farty distortion.
Yeah.
So with the headphones on or with the subwoofer, it's pretty great. And then you know, and it's just so much attention is given to energy, subwoofer. So subwoofer energy being speakers that are designed for frequencies lower than 120 hertz. Humans can kind of start to hear things around 20 hertz. That's if you have absolute perfect hearing range. Really, it's around 40. We feel things at 20. We start to feel things at 20. We start to recognize it around 30, and then above there we can kind of like, okay, we can hear a pitch at that point.
And then speaking voices are tend to be within what range?
Speaking voices are generally within like the 1,000 hertz, anywhere between like 300 to like 3,000. Mid range is what we'd call it, kind of a thing. Mid lows, and then syllabants is way up high. That's like
Yeah.
high stuff. So this is stuff that like, if you ever wondered why like the bass isn't hitting on your laptop, kind of a thing, like you recognize it, but when you go to a concert, you listen to it in your car, you're like, oh, this feels like I feel the music. It's the subwoofer. It's everyone's favorite thing in a club. Everyone's favorite thing for a bass guitar. Oh, bass subs in the bass, or like a kick drum, electronic kick drum in the bass and subs. You feel powerful. But like without that, it doesn't sound like anything.
I think that's a really good point to bring up. And now I'm curious, how does the Holdo maneuver compare, and also the Attack of the Clones seismic charges? Is that also kind of paltry on the phone?
So that's fun too, because the seismic. So for example, like the seismic charge has a lot of high energy in it. It does a lot of that, so you don't necessarily need the sub to feel and hear it. And the Holdo thing, its brilliance is in the absence of sound. So you build up a whole lot,
of course,
and you suck it all away, and you hold that for a long time. Holdo, I just got it. The Holdo maneuver. You just hold that silence, and where here they do the opposite of a Holdo maneuver. I'm gonna share my screen.
Great.
I've got this fun app which is free for everybody. You should download it if you are a musician or sound nerd like ourselves. It's called Sonic Visualizer.
I'll put a link in the show notes.
And you can drop in anything and just zoom into your heart's content and all sorts of other great things. So right now I'm looking at decibels, and this is the waveform of the entire file. So we're going to find that moment, and I bet you it's with this. And
this is the sound of the clip that we're talking about right now,
This
right?
is the sound of that, just this one part right here. Because then after that, it's basically all sound effects. Like they drop the score.
Yeah.
And it's just everyone going crazy. R2 screams.
There's no
fire
score
and
for like
chaos.
10 seconds.
Yeah, so right here is the clip, like without even hearing it. I mean, I pre-found it obviously before the stream, but if you were just wanted to go look for it without hearing it, we can find
There's
it because
silence
there's
right before,
that
right?
silence drop, which is funny because it's not complete silence. There is some energy there, little bits. So it's not complete silence, but it's in comparison, like right there. So I'm going to let's see. I'm gonna do one of these. I think that selects it for me, and I'm gonna play this. And we tested it earlier, so it should work. Oh, go back here.
Oh, you got your like the what do you call it?
Yeah, the playhead.
The playhead.
Yeah, there it is. There it is.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, did I just add something silly?
I think you did.
Oh no. Okay. What I can do is
And what we're looking at is like amplitude.
yeah, actually hold on. I'm gonna do one of these things real quick. I'm just gonna don't save whatever the heck I just did. And then I'm gonna reopen it.
Is that a piece of pizza on the back of the your backdrop right there, Xanthi?
Me? Piece of pizza?
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like a piece of pizza, this triangle that we're looking at right now, like on the screen in your right Skywalker backdrop.
Oh, no. Wait, how does that look like a piece of pizza?
So like this is the crust is in the pink part.
Okay. No, it is.
Kind of
It
a
is the
Rorschach
scene-
test for how hungry I am right now.
It's this. It's a.
okay, I think I
yeah.
got it. Let's see if this
I'll
works.
explain later.
There it is. Okay, so that's the sound. And if you don't have headphones on, and you don't have a subwoofer attached to your regular speakers, for reference, most regular, I'd say full range regular speakers will go down to maybe 80 hertz, 60 if you're lucky. That's some fine bass, but not like the really low stuff. So this is the clip. We hear the silence. And what's fun about this program is that we can go analyze the spectrum. I'm gonna let's see here. I'm gonna get a lot of these. I'm gonna put this so we can see it as a spectrogram.
Nice. That's my favorite view.
I love these, right? We can change the color too if you want. But so basically, if what we're seeing is from the bottom to the top, all the frequencies of our hearing range. So for the most part, I think this goes down to 10 hertz all the way up to 20,000 hertz. Human hearing is 20 hertz to 20,000, perfect hearing. And the darker, so if it is black, if it is, for example, the darker something is, that is the absence of any frequencies in the sound at that time frame. So it's from left to right, it's the time, right? And we go from green to yellow to red. If it's red, that is the loudest a frequency spectrum is. So it's like we're looking at a slice of time, and what is the whole hearing range happening right now? So if up all the way up here, this is like super high stratosphere kind of frequencies, so it's not too much. But down here, that's where all the fun is. Right? And what's really cool about this program is it might be hard to see on your screens, everybody, but next to all these frequencies is a piano roll, so you can kind of see the
on the
relative
left.
notes.
Oh, that's fun.
that are happening for things, so you can kind of like fake transcribe things on it, but you can choose let's see here, scaling is dB, logarithmic, this is linear, no, we want log, and I'm gonna go to frequencies. And so here you can see all this red is kind of the fundamental of this effect. This is the pitch, this curve, and all of this, and everything above it that matches it is a harmonic, essentially, is what we're seeing. So a whole fraction mathematical fraction of spectrum of the sound kind of a thing. And I think if we look at all this,
So do you think there's
information,
only one fundamental here? You don't think they're superimposing like two?
I think there's one major. So what we're looking at for the most part right now is the highest, the most prominent, most prominent. If we look at everything, we see a smear kind of a
Yes.
thing. So there's a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a lot of sound effect, texture, distortion creates harmonics and sound,
Mm-hmm.
and creates noise. All this crazy stuff here. But if I looking at it from here, like I think what's called peak bins. So this is the loudest
The
in
funny view.
each tiny little section of what we're
Oh.
analyzing. This is the loudest part.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I go to the loudest frequencies, that's what those lines are. Those are the loudest frequencies across this entire crazy effect that's happening.
That's really
So
cool.
whether or not it's the actual fundamental, this is the most powerful bass that's happening
Mm-hmm.
right here.
So, what does like another chunk of this 5 minutes look like when you've got more audio information going on? Like, can we see that? Can we see like what like a more score heavy section looks like, and
Yeah, we
just
can
see the
go
comparison?
right before that.
Yeah, like what does that look like before it gets there? Maybe take a look at like what the
Yeah, and
other
I'll
view
play
looked
it.
like.
I'll play a little chunk leading into this. How about that? With all, oh, look at all that
Yeah.
rising.
Yeah. The riser.
Whoa, can
Um,
you can you put it on the other view, the like
Yeah.
the more the heat map view or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I see. You
Yeah.
can see it's way more
You can
way
see all
more
the
spread out. Wow.
And also,
Mhm.
since instead of the amplitude isn't the like seismograph line, amplitude is the color
Yep.
here. So
Amplitude
the more,
is color.
yeah.
So I'll play from here just to show you, so you can all see how we can like read this.
Wow.
Here it comes.
A feeble attack, my faithful black. Will stop the return
Coming up
of
in
the
so
Sith.
wow. Just see it coming. Wow. So interesting.
R2, my systems are failing!
R2.
Nice.
You can see like the high, like you've got
Okay,
some
wait.
heat map during R2
No.
screech right there, which is really cool up in the high
Right?
high
You see
register.
That
That was
whole
Yeah.
arc. That is
That's basically
all
R2. That's R2
The
screaming right there.
Can
Yeah.
you play that
The
again, but
alarms.
start the volume lower? I'm just thinking about when this podcast gets edited, since this is on the same audio channel as your voice,
Yeah.
it might
I'll
not
play it a little
even
lower.
out to.
Totally. So yeah, I like the alarms are like right here. You can see that. So I'm gonna go same spot for
Okay.
funsies. Here we go.
Fear the feeble attack, my faithful. Nothing will stop the return of the Sith.
You can see like all that
R2, my
QQ.
systems are failing! Does anyone copy?
You could hear the woo. You could see
Yeah.
yeah.
That whole thing. Fun fact too. With
Wait, it looks like there's writing. It looks like it says Hun.
Yeah. This is all with it condensed. You can kind of see. I love over here. Well, this is all the we can look at all these. It's fun. It's a great fun program to like look at sound and music and just bits of audio, whatever you want in different ways.
Love it.
What's really fun too, actually, you said it looks like writing. There are artists out there, musical artists out there
Yeah,
that put spectrogram pictures in their audio that you can't hear, but or maybe can hear. Aphex Twin is a very famous example of someone that does that. He put his face at the end of like a track or something like that. So if you put it in here, it's like his face appears in the audio and like
That's
goes
so
away.
funny.
Whoa,
It's
I did
very-
not know that. That is so
It's
cool.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty cool
It's
ones.
creepy,
Yeah.
but it's cool.
He would do
Um,
that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, the point of all this was for me to not only look at just all that bass energy that's happening, but by looking at the frequencies and seeing just the curve of it, it's basically a G. It's a G F sharp highlighting beat. Oh, you just threw up the okay,
The image, yeah.
that was the Aphex Twin creepy face.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a G F sharp B F G kind of a thing. And if I scroll this over near the piano roll, all the way to the side, I think James is
In the way.
James, yeah. If you put James on the other side, if you go analyze this later, you can see right here the piano roll, and then just those notes and how it's an F sharp down to all the way down to a C sharp, then back up to a C, then it kind of hangs around an F, then a G, and then back down. It's wobbly. It's just a big wobbly, bassy mess. But that's the most fundamental aspect of that bass sound. And you can. I went with my keyboard, and it's essentially it's all around there.
That's so
on the
cool.
Frequencies. So yeah, that's cool.
So cool,
Sonic
Justin.
Visualizer, everybody.
Yeah. Love that.
And then here's the whole.
Yeah.
Whole file just for fun.
Well, I'm going to tell you, or I have some information about how that sound was created. Yeah, so this comes from the Dolby Institute podcast. They interviewed Matt Wood and Dave Acord, the supervising sound editors, because they were nominated for an Oscar, and so they interviewed the Oscar nominees for sound. So Matt Wood says that his favorite sound moment is Palpatine giving his big force lightning up to the entire fleet. A quote from him is, "Hands down, I just laugh. I love it. It's so unorthodox, what you, Dave Acord, has done." And then Dave explains, it was JJ's idea. He has the best sound ideas. He has the best sound ideas when it comes to these things. So it was it's a transcript. It's a transcription, so it includes like him being like, this is when the Emperor is operating the fleet. He's going to fire the ultimate blast of force lightning into the sky and take down the rebel fleet, disable their ships, and he's just got this overhead shot of him, and he kind of has this boom. And so we had a big, powerful electrical force blast in there, and JJ says, yeah, could be cooler. What would it sound like if you're in that room and it just blows out the microphone? Just your brains can't even comprehend the sound. Like, what would that sound like? So I made a thing. The root sound is this electric toothbrush on a piece of sheet metal, which I think I'd recorded not specifically for that, but I had it in my library. And I took that sound because it's got this sort of ratty metallic sound to it, and I just started blowing it out, just sort of overdriving it, adding more low end, and it just turned into this thing that he does when he fires. And JJ was like, great, that's it, sold. And it's a super Dolby Atmos moment.
I wasn't wrong.
They were saying. You were
so funny.
You were not wrong. Just add more bass.
J.J. Abrams is a very known synthesizer nerd. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, add a little moog to that and just walks off,
So this moment, there's I should put a little discretionary disclaimer before you go check this out, and so because it's not exactly safe. There's not exactly safe for work language, but there is Soulja Boy was giving a live stream, and there's this hilarious clip where he's on his Twitch stream, and I guess the chat is telling, and this is when his music had been paused, I guess, and the chat is like telling him, "Your music is too loud," and he starts getting angry at the chat. He's like, my music's not too loud. Like, if you don't like it, get out of here. And he's using all kinds of language, inflammatory language. And then he hits play again on his music, and it sounds just like this sound in this scene. It's like clearly like completely blown out of speakers. And it's so funny because the meme is they took just this one clip out of the live stream. So you like watch this 5-second clip of him yelling, "My music's not too loud. What are you talking about?" And then presses play, and it's like, it's like the loudest thing in the world. It's so funny. And it sounds so much like this moment in The Rise of Skywalker.
Was that like an accident?
No, I think that's just how he likes listening to his music.
Oh, okay.
He didn't know he was driving his music too loud into the stream.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think it's just that he's got his crazy, some people like to listen to music with crazy subwoofers.
True.
And I remember the first time I had a friend of mine, back in the 2000s probably the like early 2000s, and he got like a speaker system in his car, man.
Yeah.
You got to sit down in the speaker system. And I remember like being, as a musician and someone, like, I just remember being like everybody was so psyched about his car speaker system. And it was so you couldn't, like, it's so loud you can't breathe.
Yeah.
Like, cause the air is being vibrated so violently. And I just remember being like, who would want to listen to music like
I've had this exact same thing happen to me in high school where like someone was like driving me to some like club meeting and they were like playing stuff with really loud bass. And I just remember being like, I thought I was dying or something. I was just like, oh my God.
And everybody like in the car is like, yeah, these speakers are sick. I'm like, these are not sick.
It was horrible.
There's an entire genre of music. It's called car bass. It is just designed for shaking cars. I remember my last apartment at like midnight. There was some people with a car that was souped up, and they were just playing it in our parking structure, our little like right out my window. And part of me was like, oh, I get it now. It's the vibrations and the polyrhythms of the bass, and like, okay, I get it. Now stop. Like, I get it. I get it now. Like, it was making the car vibrate at frequencies, so the car itself was emitting a pitch. Like, it was wild, but it was like, this is excessive at the same time at midnight, guys.
It's also kind of like cool at the same time, like as a noise, like as a within the noise genre. You know what I mean? Like, you're like,
it's great
if you're thinking about it in that lens.
Context is everything. Like,
right. But like, if I want to listen to my favorite like hip hop songs or whatever, like, I don't want the bass that blown out. I want to like listen to the mix, Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just a nerd, or maybe I'm just like lame, Like, maybe.
God, don't be such an audiophile.
Yeah. I don't know.
Have you seen those sound systems? Have you seen those sound systems in like Indonesia, India, the Philippines that are just stacks of like DIY speaker subsystems, and they roll them out and have contests for how loud they can play these things? Have you seen? Oh, you should look at
awesome.
Sound clash culture. I would love to hear this effect on one of those systems. And then
what's it called? Sound clash? Sound clash?
If you like sound system clashes. Sound system clashes. There's a whole, you can go into like Jamaican culture and like learn about where it comes from. But it's all around the world at this point, where they build these like DIY, like bigger than that, like even bigger than that and wilder than that, like these DIY systems. Wow. That looks AI generated, but it's they're crazy. They're crazy systems.
Wild. That's really funny.
Anyways.
Yeah, I'm seeing this one out of a car, in a car.
Yeah. Well, even bigger. I'll send you a.
Yeah. Wow. That looks also kind of disturbing. Like, if you think of it as an alien, it's like too many eyes or too many orifices. To be comfortable with.
It's not. Yeah. What do you call it? Alert.
Yeah. Yeah. But there are some really cool looking ones. A lot of them seem to be out of cars, which makes sense. Like, look at this. But also, the tryptophobia is bad.
It does make me feel a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's unsettling. Oh man,
it's crazy.
So yeah, that's what I took away from this moment. It just reminds me of just like those types of like blasted out speakers and like pretty fun.
Yeah.
Which is funny about it, because what I think the meme, I'm trying to remember what the meme about this moment is. Like, they like there's some memes of this clip, and it's even more ridiculous, right?
It's like I've seen the one where it's like blown out dubstep or something.
Blown out dubstep. It's like the emperor is just like, yo.
I mean,
centipede.
Justin's experiment I guess a greater point in all of this is that this movie and the movies are designed to primarily be experienced in the theater. They're mixed for Dolby Atmos, and which is why that particular moment was being, showcased on the Dolby Atmos podcast. This is not for watching at home, which makes me then, I feel I feel like I prefer to watch Star Wars in a theater if I can. And I wonder about like what the shows, the Disney Plus shows being mixed. I don't know for a fact that they're mixed for Dolby Atmos, but I feel like they're mixed for a better sound system than what I'm listening to them on.
Yeah.
I do get that sense.
So everything is mixed for most things are mixed for a better sound system than what we listen to.
True.
And they have to deal with the fact that streaming compresses the crap out of audio and your own bit rates and your own things, and whether or not you have a 5.1 TV system or a Dolby,
that is a big challenge.
So do you think if we were to, because this is what we watched for this set of minutes, like my source wasn't directly streaming from Disney Plus, it was a DVD. If we were to open this movie up on Disney Plus, do you think they would have adjusted the sound in this moment to be more appropriate? I'm curious.
Maybe. I know you can choose. I'm pretty sure on Disney Plus and most streaming services, you can choose either stereo or 5.1, which is, I think it usually defaults to one or the other, which is why sometimes people are like, why can't I hear things? I need subtitles. I mean, I use subtitles anyways, but like, why can't I hear things? It's because the 5.1, you're missing things. So if you don't put it back into stereo, you won't hear everything.
So you're saying unless you definitely have a 5.1 system at home, you should be listening on stereo, probably.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the 0.1 of a 5.1 system, the point anything of a system is the number of separate subwoofer channels you have. So 5.1 is 5 speakers surrounding you, 1 center, left, right, 2 rears, and then a subwoofer, 1 subwoofer channel, kind of a thing. Where Dolby Atmos, I think, is like all over the fucking place.
It's like 9 or something. 9.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's like point whatever.
That's good to know.
You learn so much.
I think
on
I've
these
done up to
podcasts, man.
0.2. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's a problem. Like on my Apple TV, it's been doing this thing for like months where I open up an app and it's just there's no sound when I play. And for some people, it's like it's their TV somehow switches it to 5.1, and so it's like no sound comes out at all. Sometimes I don't know.
Our next in-person full band batch, I'll stem us out and I'll mix this as 5.1 so we can hear each of us in a different speaker.
Ooh, that would be a weird experiment.
What was it? It was a Flaming Lips album that was made to be like played in surround sound. Was it Flaming Lips?
There's a lot
or is it Wilco?
Album.
What was it?
There's a number of them.
Album in surround sound. It was like some like hipster band from like the 2000s. I think it might have been Wilco. I think the album starts with like an O or something. I remember people doing like, I think it was Flaming Lips maybe. I remember people having like
parties. I think it may have been Flaming Lips.
Like, yeah, it wasn't
The Soft
Yoshimi.
Bulletin?
No.
Okay.
Zurika is the album.
Okay.
And 4 CDs that had to be played simultaneously on 4 separate audio systems. That's what it was. So it wasn't even made in surround sound. It was to be synced. The 4 CDs all had to be synced at once.
What? So you'd have to have 4 CD players in one place.
Yeah. So you play them all at the same time, and it all links up, and you have to play them, and ideally you put them in different places in your space. So
that's
Zurika.
That's wild.
Flaming Lips. Yeah.
Isn't that like the Music for Airports original installation?
Oh,
the Brian,
It's just 4 tape loops in different places.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to keep playing
the minutes.
I
want people to work to listen to my music.
Yeah. I want people to have some means or some friends.
You got to get together with your friend to listen.
Yeah. 4 of you need to buy it to listen to it once.
First of all,
4
you all got to buy.
That's how you get your album
copy.
sales up. Is require 4 at a time.
You don't want to just own one of them, you know.
That's really funny.
All 4 of you have to buy all 4 CDs.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to continue. So, no music. Now we're back in the Citadel. Somber music. Rey's looking at the ceiling, seeing the destruction outside.
Seeing what do you call it?
10
to V4 going
Yep.
down, which is very
Yep.
symbolic. Of
Yep.
being like, yo, Star Wars is the first ship that we ever see.
Yep. And then
Those ships fall for a long time.
they do. And then close up on Daisy Ridley's face. Be with me. Be with me. Okay, so this is a obviously very different musical moment. This is, I believe this is the start of the Force is With You soundtrack. Let's see. Yeah. So we have like a suspension.
Yeah.
Basically, the A in the A minor chord drops down to an A flat, making an A flat augmented chord. Yeah, and of course we have the chorus, but the choir, LA Master Chorale, back in here.
But there's no. This isn't. Are these any of the weird motifs or anything? Is this just kind of passing? This
Yeah.
seems like just like passing. I need to add some notes here and add some suspension to get us into where you stopped. I think is what
Yeah.
my next note was.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything specific. Heart plucks. I guess I should play from the minutes. Here we go. I'll go back a little bit. Be with me. So she's continuing to look at the sky. Oh, wait, did you hear that? That actual suspension? Sorry. Be with me. Right there. Yeah,
That's nice.
so that is it's a very tragic Star Wars type of thing. Okay, so we're in the key of A minor. And we need to go to F major here. But, okay, how do I describe this? It's a 4-3 suspension. So basically, if this is F major, F is number 1, scale degree, 2, 3, 4, 5. But we'll sharp that. We're basically doing the 4th scale, or note number 4 is going to relieve some tension by moving down to note number 3. And let's play a bit from Anakin's betrayal in Revenge of the Sith, where we're going to hear a very similar thing, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah. There.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I think what it really reminds me of immediately is Revenge of the Sith. Just like
Yeah.
the third act of,
Play it one more
Revenge
time,
of the
if
Sith.
you wouldn't mind. Play
Yeah,
it.
the Revenge of the Sith one or the Rise of
Yeah.
Skywalker?
So good.
Another one, 2 in a row, actually.
Yeah.
And then Bail Organa goes, and so it is. Also, I'm reminded of Adagio for Strings by Samuel Barber, which has a ton of suspensions in it. Already? Yeah, so suspension is like basically where a note from one chord is held while the notes of the chord change to a new harmony. So the held note kind of clashes with the new chord. And then you have to resolve the tension. And in Adagio for Strings, you hear like notes moving at different times that creates all those suspensions, which is what's happening here in The Rise of Skywalker.
Kind of like it's kind of like doing the wave and to a certain extent. You know, I'm like it's like somebody holding out at the end, and then they kind of resolve back in with the rest of the group, kind of thing.
Perhaps. I think it's like everyone doing the wave, but like some people are holding on too long.
Yeah, right.
Or something.
Right.
Yeah, one person, and you're like, no, just make it right again.
Yes.
Just put your arms down. It's like, okay, finally.
Come back down.
Finally.
Yeah, really beautiful cue here. Really beautiful cue here.
Definitely. Super pretty. And it's signifying tragedy to me. Like it sounds like tragedy. And the strings as well are a common thread. And I guess voices are also often used to great effect. Now we go into Rey's Chimes theme. There is an inverted pedal point there, because so a pedal point, normally we are used to hearing pedal point down low, like being a bass note that is held for a long time. So an inverted pedal point would just be like, here the held note is a higher note. There's violins are holding up a high E. Be with me.
Quite nice.
Yeah.
Rise and take them.
Rey, bring back the balance, Rey, as I did.
In the night, find the light, Rey.
Every Jedi who ever lived lives in you.
The Force surrounds you, Rey.
Let it guide you as it guided us.
Feel the Force flowing through you, Rey. Let it lift you.
Rise, Rey.
A riser, as they say, rise. Yeah.
The Jedi lies her strength.
This is a pretty long sequence, actually.
Rey, the Force will be with you. Always.
Yeah, that
pretty
sequence
tough.
feels, it's, that's really cool.
I get a little, what's it called?
Goosebumps?
Yeah.
Goosebumps.
What's it? There's in there like a term.
Oh,
It's not
frisson,
ASMR. Frisson.
Frisson or
ASMR,
something.
Yeah.
Little goosebumps there. I love, except the Anakin stuff feels like such a like a gimme or like a
Oh, even
Like
like
th-
there, and
or like throwing one in like that the bring back the balance as I once did, right?
Yeah, that's like, don't do it as I did, though. Please.
yeah,
Would rather
Isn't-
Yeah, right.
not.
yeah. And
So-
there's an
yeah,
old,
and which
old- is there an Alex Guinness thing in there?
There is. So,
Right?
yeah, so right at the
they
beginning
get
of
into this?
this. Yeah, right at the beginning of this.
Probably just called him up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just one word, Rey.
No, I think it's from what's it called? He says, what's the line in A New Hope? I think it is. There's a line that he says that has part like
Afraid.
afraid.
Yeah,
right?
so they
That's what
pulled
it
the
is.
Ray.
I was gonna say
Putting
they
the
must
Ray
have-
in Afraid.
Yeah, there's a way.
Yeah.
There was a way that they did it. Yeah.
Which is honestly that's a very creative, I think that's a cool trick.
No, that's super clever.
I'm impressed by
that.
that.
Super clever.
Yeah, so it is mostly...
The ending of it always reminds me of Transformers, Autobots.
Oh.
Roll out. Like the voice of Optimus Prime. But
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, it's good stuff, honestly. I think this is good stuff. You know,
Yeah.
I think this whole sequence is really cool. I think the way that the voices are mixed and present up front and very clear is really really well done.
Yeah.
I like it. And I think the score that's built underneath it to build up the moment to the lightsaber is just really effective, especially as she starts to kind of get herself
Totally.
up and do it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, we have the choir holding, like chords underneath. And we have like an English horn or something doing this. Kind of a legato line with some chromatic movement. So you don't feel too locked into
this
what
to me is a very like John Williams' first 3 movies, mysterious, but like that 80s 90s John Williams score sound kind of a thing. I think that's what gives me the goosebumps ASMR kind of for this sequence is like we really harken back right there to that.
Does it remind you of Does it remind you of a specific cue or moment?
It's hard to say because I feel like he's done this a lot in a lot of little ending transitions. I'm thinking like I'm sure it appears somewhere in Indiana Jones and the movie Hook, which also has a lot of like very similar kind of sounding things. It's just a very old classic John Williams-y kind of thing. And I know I'm sure in the Harry Potter scores in that first one, like he's got a lot of it's this interesting chromatic, not dissonant, but not happy, but not weird, but not it's just mystic. It's very I don't know how to describe it, but it's that part.
I'd love to know more detail on do you mean the chromatic line the like English horn line specifically? And I'll play it again. Or do you mean like the whole
it's the
thing?
combination of it all. It's the English horn line, or is it a flute?
Let's listen to it.
Will you play it again?
Yeah.
I'll point out the exact spot.
I'll play it without the sound effects.
That flute.
Oh, it might be flute.
And oboes?
I think it's doubled on Celeste.
It's doubled, yeah. Like this just feels like a very the harmony.
And it's kind of Harry Potter-esque from his Harry Potter work, honestly.
Yeah.
It feels like something from the even just some of the kind of the I mean I haven't like sat down and listened to the score, but just
there is a color to it.
It reminds me of some of his work on those films.
Yeah. And I think the Celeste sneaking in there, like something John Williams is very good at, is
Oscar
is doing interesting doublings. Like I feel like I always notice him doing just maybe pairing 2 instruments that I wouldn't necessarily have thought to do. And when I'm listening to it, it's like almost an instrument that I can't recognize until I realize it's 2 instruments.
I mean,
like he'll
you
do that
put
with
somebody
woodwinds
in
a
a
lot.
studio in Burbank for the whole day. You probably get a little self-conscious about like not asking them to do much, you know. So you just double them, you know. You just have them.
Yeah, you play other things, right? You bring everything you got. I can't pay
You're like,
an orchestra.
I haven't had that oboe do much.
And
And we're going to be paying that person a lot of money to go to the studio. Might as well just double them with the flutes.
We'll throw you in another number. Yeah.
It's like the I can't pay 60 people to do this, but I can pay one person to do this 60 times on different instruments.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other doubling issue. Is when you're doubled, you're doubling over yourself. Okay, so let's go back. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's cool. No, I'm just saying it's a cool. Like I would second the emotional reading that Justin had. It's very mystical and magical, and makes me think of. It's accompanying a very mystical and magical moment. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I like that we both get secret powers from both of them. Rey shows that she's able to tap into all the dead Jedi that have ever lived, and Palpatine shows us that he can give just a fire dubstep party.
With all of them.
These are Palpatine. It runs in the bloodline. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to play again.
Steps, Rey. Rise and take them.
Rey,
That's Mace.
bring back the balance, Rey.
Anakin.
Oh, you know what this reminds me of?
What?
Musically? This reminds me harmonically of what's happening right before Obi-Wan appears on Dagobah in The Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, there's an example.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, ba-dun-dun-dun. And he's like, Obi-Wan. And then Obi-Wan's like, I'm a ghost, but I can still sit on logs. I can.
It's exactly.
He's like, I'm a ghost, but I still. But I can still I can still interact with the physical world in a really weird, interesting way. Anyway,
I can light this tree on fire. Watch.
he does. I'm pretty sure he does move like some branches out of the way in that scene. Which when people were like, Yoda, can he like light something? I was like, well, if Obi-Wan can like move shrubbery, then
we've already
Yoda
established.
can summon lightning like from the sky.
the boxes have been blown wide open. Anyway, I would say that would be a similar moment, and I would be very curious at what's happening in that moment. You haven't done Return of the Jedi, right?
That's next.
Yeah, I would. If we can put a little into this episode, we can come back and see if that moment, is tracks in terms of what's happening harmonically there, melodically.
Good idea. Yoda, Qui-Gon, and we kind of hear Rey chimes in the back.
Feel the force.
There's Ahsoka, called Female Jedi 3.
Is that? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Does it? Is that what? Oh
Yeah.
God.
Well,
What
okay.
subtitles are for those from?
From the movie,
No, I know, but what platform? Disney
from
Plus?
the DVD.
Oh, DVD. Okay.
So,
interesting.
okay. So I think what I have heard is that it was because they didn't want to confirm whether Ahsoka was dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good call.
Ooh.
Good call.
So I do get it. I get it.
That is
It's fine.
deep level.
Well, it also isn't the voice of Rosario Dawson, right?
Yes.
Well,
the
the voiceover is Ashley.
Right. That's what I'm
Right.
saying, and we know that that Ahsoka doesn't sound like that as an adult.
Right.
So-
Yeah.
in true Star Wars fashion, do we then need to go back to the
And
Rise of
re-record.
Skywalker and
Dude,
just edit
if we were gonna
Rosario
Lucas it
Dawson
up,
in?
That's the rule.
I mean,
That's the rule. Is that
these
every
movies should be
piece
updated
of-
every 5 years.
Yes.
Every 5.
Yes.
And Tamara
And just-
Morrison, he's got to show up somewhere.
Yeah, maybe we can add freaking Anakin and Ben Solo as ghosts in the last scene of the movie. Maybe that would be.
Poe should be getting his own visions of like past smugglers and stuff, past riffraff of
Past
the galaxy.
space trash.
the ghost of Hondo
Past
Anaka.
space trash. Yeah, Hondo. Just space trash visions.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. I would love a director's cut, Peter Jackson style of this movie with all that kind of weird crap in it.
The director's cut will have these somehow. It'll just that got cut out of the film as the explanation of the somehow Palpatine returned. That was in the director's cut, but the studio, I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna keep playing.
Let it lift you.
Rise.
There's a crescendo here.
We stand behind you.
That sound was Rey's hand pounding the ground.
Yeah.
More strings,
The Jedi lies her
and there's Kanan.
strength.
Rey, the Force will be with you. Always.
I think that moment where it goes into just a is somewhat. I like it, but I think it's such an interesting / odd button to the end of the riser. I mean, it's a very clean ending to it. But yeah, it is very definitive. Like, it sounds definitive. It's not like you're not ending on like, or like, you know, it's just do. It's very clean.
Yeah, I mean, it's such like a pinnacle moment, right? It's just like, all right, it's on, like Donkey Kong, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would say that's the energy I get from that.
Yeah. And that like, okay, that's really bad representation of the sound that it was.
What was it?
Do you want me to do it again?
A lightsaber like coming across the, yeah.
Yeah. That is the lightsaber
Also
being
bad.
dragged
That's also
across
a bad version of it. Which is cool because you hear that before you see the lightsaber. You don't see the lightsaber flying across. You just, And we similar later, I think too. I made a note of when we get to the second lightsaber, we also experience that same feeling and sound effect of it just kind of flying through the air before hearing it before we see it.
This movie is so funny.
So we'll hear that again.
It's just like
always.
And the note kind of, the note
and the
saves
lightsaber
Star Wars.
The lightsaber is an A.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you notice.
Star Wars has been saved again. Sorry.
Do you think that was on purpose? The lightsaber humming the same key as the arrival point?
It may have been, but I'm not sure.
It's got is the sound played again?
Okay. No, sorry, I need to go back further.
The Force will be with you always.
You know what?
Yeah,
the lightsaber sound
it resolves
the lightsaber sound is actually, the score is doing like a very cool thing there, where it's kind of the timbre of the orchestration sounds like it's part of the lightsaber. So you know how like when you in orchestra you'll have like you're playing something that it's like there's a forte hit, but then like the strings are maybe like holding a piano note, like holding something soft, or the woodwinds or something, and it feels like it's like a continuation, or it's like a reverberation of what came before. I feel like that's happening here with the lightsaber hum, and then it sounds like we're still hearing the hum, but it's actually the orchestra doing a cool timbre there on an A. So it could be. This is just a great spot where the orchestra and sound design are
in tandem with one another.
Yeah, and I feel like I'm going to give credit to the orchestra, to the music.
I'm going to give credit to the lightsaber.
Okay, that's fine. I need to hear that one more time. Sorry, it's just too good.
Yeah. We don't
even need to listen to the rest of the minutes. James can just perform them.
I can just sing it. So what is that that theme again? Can you remind me?
It's Ray's A theme.
Ray's A theme, right?
And we have already heard
many themes, right?
We've already heard Chimes.
So sick, dude.
It's such a good theme.
That's another capital S Star Wars theme. I think most people, when they hear that these days, they probably wouldn't even like necessarily pinpoint it. They would just be like, oh, that's from Star Wars. Like they wouldn't even necessarily know that it's like which trilogy it's from almost.
I feel like it sound. I feel like it. Okay, for me, I feel like it's okay. I'm not a good example, I guess. I'm a bad example. Really bad example.
I run.
I know it's from the sequel trilogy.
A musical Star Wars nerd. No.
The person that uploads a video every week about the music of Star Wars.
Totally new generation Star Wars. You can tell
by all the hours of countless study that I've done on this topic.
I agree.
Okay, you're right.
No. I gotta be honest with you.
Like
like
great theme.
It's
Yeah.
awesome. But when I hear it at like Disneyland, like I feel like it just blends in with like the Star Wars thing going on there. You'll like hear it being played like in the Star Wars section of Disneyland or whatever, you know, and like you're like, oh, okay. Like I don't even necessarily clock it as Rey's theme, even though it definitely is Rey's theme, but it just seems like just epic Star Wars. It sounds almost like the Force theme to me, where it's almost like
Yeah.
it means something a little bit more general in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, it does have similar vibes to the Force theme at times.
Bum, ba-da-bum, bum, and bum, bum.
Like they both do, big intervals. And they're, Justin,
So
you were saying
question,
something.
what if this is Rey's A theme? What would you consider the other ones? Because for me, this is like right. So that's one. And then
B would be Chimes.
Then right.
And then there's like
yes.
And then there
is that just a continuation of this one, or is it like its own thing at this point? So she's got like all the themes.
She's got a lot of parts.
God, John Williams is so good. All right. Anyway.
Yeah. So let's continue listening. I think the chord does something interesting in about 10 seconds. Trombones. Chord goes sour.
Yeah. What happens in that moment?
Let me put an image up on screen.
Well, even the background across the theme, the chords are kind of polytonal, if we want to throw a fun word at it. Like it's like it feels like it's part of it, but also like not the actual, like what would be normally supporting that theme, you know?
As for what's happening, I think it's Palpatine being like, oh, this is what's happening. It's like Palpatine has entered the chat. He's not happy about this.
It's like there's still the evil boy going on.
Yeah, because he's like, let your death be the final word in the story of rebellion. But before then, Rey's theme, powerful, trombones, like strength and resolve. And, at other times, I feel like in The Last Jedi, we're hearing Rey's theme played on strings as she's doing her lightsaber practice. It's like epic, but in a different way, like and inspiring in a different way. This is more like inspiring, and I'm going to fight. Like, I'm going to give it my all. I'm be really strong.
It's on like Donkey Kong, if you will.
Yeah. Okay.
Let your death be the final word in the story of rebellion.
Muted brass. And another flurry up to it. A. I wonder if I don't think it's the same one, but it's doing the same thing as before. Which is interesting. And then it's basically going just from D major to D minor. But it's interesting how emphasizing that change, and I think also dropping it off, just makes it feel like it's going like womp. Okay, Rey's deflecting force lightning.
Back on! This is our last chance. We gotta hit those cannons now!
You are nothing.
Palpatine!
That girl is no match for the power in me. I am all the Sith.
Oh,
that seems like such a stupid setup. It's like, why did you say that unless you're trying to get her to have a fire comeback and say, I'm all the Jedi. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, you have a
and
point.
It's also like, but he's like, no scavenger girl can be the best of me, but if he knows who she is.
I mean, he's negging her though, because like,
yeah, that's true.
Mine, yeah, I guess, but
Yeah, he's being a jerk.
like, yeah,
He's being a real jerk.
mean.
He's being real mean.
In the last episode, Christina was on, and she was like saying something about how Palpatine was being really sexist, and I thought that was hilarious because I was like,
no,
he has many faults.
He is problematic. That is,
yeah,
is true.
Sexist. It doesn't scratch. That's the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, when all is said and done, he's just kind of sexist, you know.
Yeah.
I can deal with the world blowing up, but I draw my line.
Dude, that's real funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do find that I am all the Sith line kind of being like a clear. It's like a clear line put in the script just so that Rey can be like, I'm all the Jedi.
It's that writer's room thing. It's like, what if he says this? What if she says this? Oh!
Right.
Like,
but also, if this movie
reminds me of,
what?
Have you ever seen Good Will Hunting?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, there's a part of Good Will Hunting where Matt Damon goes up to his rival and says, "Do you like apples?" Right? And then the person says back to him, "Yeah." And then he shows him the telephone number of the girl that they've both been after, that wooing, that has given her number to Matt Damon. He goes, "Well, how about them apples?" Right?
Yeah.
And you're kind of just like, wait, why did he ask? Like, why did he ask? Do you like what kind of question is that to ask to begin with? Even though it's like a clear setup into how do you like them apples, right? Mm-hmm. This is kind of what this reminds me of. It's like, I am all of the Sith. She's like, oh yeah, well, I'm all the Jedi. Kind of silly.
I feel like if this movie or if all the movies are like documentaries, and we're seeing just the highlights, I'm imagining that there were many other lines that happened, but we're just seeing the highlights of like the best parts.
Right.
Because then you always have to wonder, like, when the Emperor says all of these threatening types of lines, how often does he actually get a comeback? Probably not very often. So he would still probably have a high success rate if he throws these types of lines out.
That's true.
Yeah, just like sick disses all the time.
What's his last name? Ian McDiarmid?
Yeah, McDiarmid.
He's got one of those voices that, like, you could say anything and it's just good. He's got that low fry, like it's like Morgan Freeman can narrate anything to me, and I'm just going to be in a good mood. For him, it's like he can make anything just sound so evil and just epic. Maybe except this line. I mean, this line put that theory to the test, and But like, I think my favorite thing he ever did was wipe them out, all of them, back in episode 1. It's so good. But
there's some bass in his voice in a couple lines in this clip that I noticed that remind me of when he goes, "Lord Vader, rise." You know, when he does that.
That was really good.
Because he's got that like low fry.
Yeah,
and there's a couple of lines
no one is talking about Palpatine when they're talking about how much they hate vocal fry.
Right.
We need to consider this example.
But there's a couple of spots where he does, like, he doesn't always talk like that. He's like sometimes more in the baritone kind of like that kind of sound, you know?
Yeah.
Your faith in your friend is yours, you know, that kind of thing. But in some parts, he goes, Lord Vader, rise. You know, he dips down to the bass, and he does it a couple of lines in this, and I'm trying to remember which. I think it's like the Skywalker line, the Skywalker, like his fall
to be in a death
whatever.
metal band.
I know. He does.
Yeah.
Man, and if he and Christopher Lee were in a death metal band at the same time, because Christopher Lee is
right.
Right.
Yeah, very good. Well, what else? I was gonna say something, but I forgot. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, so
we get Palpatheme.
Yeah, we get Palpatheme,
in
and I'm sure
this time starting on a G.
Yes,
we're going down,
and we have full brass and choir.
We've gone down. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry to listeners if I've told the story too many times, but I do want to make sure, Justin and I want to tell my friends, which is like these end lines with Rey were one of the last things to be ADR'd. So Matt Wood had to like send Ian McDiarmid like an Apogee mic over in Scotland. He lives like in this rural Scotland area. Sent him a thing, taught him how to record it on his phone or something. And there was like a thunderstorm on the night he was recording. It was like after a party, middle of the night. So Ian McDiarmid's like recording these Palpatine lines, and then he couldn't send it because there's no cell service like over where he lives. So he had to like walk down to the beach to like find a signal, and there just lightning started there was just lightning storm, and Matt Wood was like, "I'm so scared that that he's gonna actually like it's actually like Exegol out here. I'm so scared that he's gonna get struck by lightning.
What
out here?" And so he's trying to like send through iMessage like his voice recording. Yeah, and then it was like,
what?
That is a crazy story. Actually.
I know.
He recorded his lines at his home, at his home studio, and is like, are they WAV files or did he like record it with his phone?
It's like an iPhone.
Well, but they
sent him an Apogee.
He sent him a mic
interface and a mic.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, or it might have been an Apogee USB mic. I don't know for a fact.
But then, like, how do they get onto his phone?
He may have recorded it right. He may have recorded it on a voice memo. I don't know the actual details.
They make microphones that attach to phones via Thunderbolt or whatever it is. So you can he might have maybe have one of those podcast things and was just like,
oh, also awesome. There are apps that let you like record with, like, I think JJ Abrams is probably on the other line, that let you record remotely. Like, so they're like a remote studio. So it may have been like in a browser or like an app or something. So he could be directed. But yeah, Matt Wood's like, Ian McDiarmid is so nice, and so it's very jarring to hear him switch between the Palpatine voice and then his like normal voice.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah, true professional.
That is really, really awesome.
Yeah. Okay, Palpatheme.
And I...
Oh, it's a good moment. I want to play that on the soundtrack so we don't have to have those pesky sound effects.
But that's my favorite part. Because the rest is just a riser.
Yeah, we will. What do you mean the rest is just a riser? It's violins. It's a violin riser. Okay, we'll do both. We'll do both. Okay, so this will be 2:18 of No, we're not here yet. Oh, and I am all the Sith. Here we go. So that's we're applying many riser tools here by having there's a crescendo, there's the tremolo, like we were saying, it's rising in pitch, so it is going higher. And then there's a boom at the end. Okay. That I just had to.
It's awesome.
I feel like they sound like the tremolo strings to me in this scene, in this moment, sound like they're ants trying to like crawl their way up or something.
That's cool.
Yeah. So now we can hear it again from the movie. And then tell us about the sound effects, Justin.
I am
lightning.
Did you say lightning?
Yes, I got all the lightning, crackling, lightsabers.
The lightning was also like a J.J. Abrams led creation. He wanted the lightning to sound different from normal force lightning. Or, sorry, there is force lightning here, but the lightning on Exegol is different from the Force lightning because it comes from the core of the planet instead of from the sky.
Interesting.
And I. I'm all the Jedi.
That is very intense whirring.
And it's funny too because when you're watching it, you don't actually notice it all that much. But when you're just listening to it, it's so obvious. Like even after listening to it, then watching it, I was like, it's like oddly toned down when I'm watching it, but it's like it's like the exact same thing. Just
It's kind of interesting. I mean, like just when you force grab something, like you think you could just just grab it without it spinning around. You know what I mean? You just grab it.
I was gonna say, yeah. It just
like, what's up with the spin thing? Like, is it like what is the force always like? How does it create that like centrifugal like rotation there through the force? Like, can't you just like?
I mean, it has
sometimes
to be moving so fast,
it doesn't
right?
happen, right? Would you say?
It would have to be moving so fast and maybe be so heavy. How would that actually?
Maybe hit something along the way and start.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how else could we justify that?
It was like remind me. Does it fall with Kylo? Is this the one that she gave Kylo?
I think so.
Through the mail, the telekinetic delivery service.
So maybe it hit a rock on the way up, or maybe like out of
and
like,
kept the rock
Kylo.
with...
Well, maybe out of it, like the way it like exited Kylo's dead hand, like it made it spin or something. You know, it's just kind of. I mean, it's
the nearby chasm is where it says that he
funny that
was.
It just like whirs and like
it
spins.
I mean, it definitely is effective. It makes you. It's like it gives you a natural build up to like the freaking lightsaber of legend is on its way. You know, it's like Accio wand. You know, so and then sure enough, she grabs it, and then that's why I was saying this. I was like, this movie is so funny to me because it's just like there's so many things on it that are just so like on a surface level. Like ridiculous, like Palpatine just being like, let me demonstrate my power, not through any manipulation of the people. Like on an like in Return of the Jedi, Palpatine shows his power by zapping Luke with lightning eventually, right? But that's like still kind of like he mostly shows his power by his manipulation of Vader and of the context of the situation, tempting Luke to kill him. There's like a lot of psychological warfare going on in that scene. In this final fight, Palpatine shows his power by blasting a dubstep inspired lightning bolt into the sky to blow up a bunch of ships. And so and then in Return of the Jedi, Luke shows his prowess and his heroic nature by casting his lightsaber aside and you know, after defeating Vader in a one-on-one fight, you know, in this movie, Rey uses two lightsabers at the same time to blast a blast of electricity at the end. It's like so anime and like, you know what I mean? It's just like, that's over the top and like kind of like stupid and ridiculous at the same time. It's also kind of awesome at the same time. You know what I mean? It's just like, it's like everything is like been dialed up to like, not even 11, like 15, you know what I mean? Of just like, what's the most like easily communicated way of showing like Rey is powerful?
The only worst way this could have happened though is if it was I am all the Jedi and either like 20 lightsabers come out or like
all of the
all the Force ghosts are with her, all holding the lightsabers together.
Oh my god, that would have been so funny.
You know, and it's just
it's just it's so over the top.
Yoda spinning in the middle, just like blocking all the lightning, and just.
I think what it is it's like it's very Marvel. Like the whole sequence is very like MCU Star Wars. You know what I mean? This is like, you know, this is like Thor coming down with his hammer to like you know, defeat Thanos' blast of energy or whatever the hell happens in that movie. Very
so
much
I
like
agree, and
that.
you all know that I am not into the MCU,
Superheroes.
but for me, it worked because at the time I'm watching this in the theater in 2019, I think this is going to be the last Star Wars film, and it is the last one of the saga. So for me, it only works because it's the last film of the saga. You only earn the right to do that in the final film. So I was almost, and I don't know what would have been worse, like to have not gone all out. Like it would almost, we could have, we'd have different complaints if they were too conservative, if they held too much back. Like if you're going to go all out, do it in this movie.
Oh yeah, and they did.
Yeah, and I think like artistically, like probably as artists, there is such a delicate fine line between going all out and doing something really powerful and that just being over the top and cheesy. And it's hard to know when you're making something how that's going to be received. It's actually like super nerve-wracking.
I think what's interesting about it is when you have moments like this in film and music and any of those things, it's kind of, I feel like it's relying very, very heavily on the first reaction. And when you watch it again and multiple times, the effect of it and the awness of it starts to drop. And that's where you kind of like define films of like, man, not jumping into comparisons, but we could get to the fight between Luke and Vader and, The Empire Strikes Back. And to this day, it still gives me goosebumps of how epic and just like what that scene is all about, kind of a thing, where the more you watch it, the more you go, what's happening? But we're at the theater in 2019 seeing this, assuming that is the end of the saga because of recent news. Who knows what's going to happen next? Kind of thing. Like in 2019, seeing it for the first time, like, yeah, this works. And then...
Yeah, which is why
when you're not in the theater with the subwoofers and the sound and the excitement and all the things, you're like,
Yeah. Well,
which is why I protect my first experience so much because I know everything after that. Like I could still enjoy things, but even watching movies that I love, 2 viewings in, 3 viewings, 5 viewings, each scene now has the valences of lots of other experiences. And now I'm like also appreciating the meminess of it. And then it's like also like appreciating how campy it is. But like for the most raw like reaction, it's just that first one is so important.
Yeah. Well, I will say, Xanthi, considering how production has been going these days, it very well might be the last Star Wars movie ever made. So,
we've got 25 of them coming up. What are you talking about?
That keep getting dropped off and canceled. And
that's true.
I guess the Rey movie is basically indefinitely like delayed right now. So.
But is it? But maybe. But we are getting the type.
God, I want that movie to happen so bad. I really want that movie to happen. I want
Rogue Squadron to happen. Man,
that would be cool.
I'm still bummed about being robbed on that one. Anyways,
I know. But yeah, so I have to say, like watching just this little bit of it. I mean, I don't think I've seen this movie like since it came out. I think since 2019. Yeah, and I saw it twice in theaters.
I saw it twice in theaters too.
And I saw it on opening night, and then I had a big group of people that had planned to see it all together after watching. I was holding like regular parties to watch all 9 movies, and then the last party was, of course, going to the theaters. And
you didn't invite me.
And the 3 of us had not realized that we're all Star Wars nerds separately until
Justin
COVID
and I
happened.
saw The Rise of Skywalker together. Speak for yourself.
All right. No, I meant that's what I meant. The 3 of us. I would have if I would have known you guys. Oh my God, those parties would have been lit if you guys would have came.
Is that true? Is that what people say when I show up to a party? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm known to make parties more lit. I'm known to make parties contain like 100% more sweet potatoes, and that's about it.
Good. I mean, I would consider that more lit. Yeah. That's awesome. Chrysanthi Yam. So anywho, point being is that watching this little clip here, I mean, I have to say, like, it's some great, just like, it's almost like if this was like an episode of Visions, like
Expensive episode.
It's so sick. Like, it is a very cool sequence. It is. And maybe, again, I keep saying, I really do think there is a future where I dramatically change my opinion on this movie. Like, I don't think that's out of the question. And I think it's already better than how I felt about it like years ago. And I think, looking at little clips like this, I'm reminded, I think some of the sharp edges are a little bit smoother, I think. And it's a lot more fun in a lot of ways. And it is fun. It is fun to grab two of the most famous lightsabers of all time and blast freaking lightning at the Emperor.
Yeah,
like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. It's kind of how I feel about like Boba Fett riding on a Rancor. Like you're like,
I feel much more positively about this than Boba Fett riding on a
I know,
Rancor.
because I know you've got like a you feel bad for the Rancor kind of thing going on there, and I share that. When I put that aside, I'm like, dude, this is like a scene that I would have loved to see when I was a child. Is like Boba Fett riding a Rancor. Like, that is ridiculous and awesome and iconic and crazy. So it's kind of like that.
So it's satisfying some childhood dream.
Yeah,
more
some
so
weird
than
nerdy itch than it being like, that is a satisfying way for like the Star Wars saga to end. I don't know. Who knows? Who cares though? It's like lasers and stuff. It's sweet.
Well, we have 20 seconds left. Shall we?
We do.
Shall we do it?
Yeah, let's listen.
Oh, well, before we get there, I'll note that when Rey catches the lightsaber, there is a big thud and like a bass and timpani hit, just like on a G.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting, this set of minutes, I'm noticing a lot of like hits, thuds, buttons, stuff like that.
Well, we've gone through in this 5 minutes, like
many
two
of
or
them.
three risers, a couple like rise and drops, a couple, things like that. Definitely.
Yeah, that's how you know it's a
This is
climactic
a jam-packed 5 minutes.
Yeah.
There's a lot that happens in this 5 minutes.
I was surprised. I was like, I remember you had mentioned like, hey, we're going to do the part where the Emperor like goes all Skrillex on us. And I was not expecting to have multiple other really notable parts of this sequence, like the Rey, like Kylo getting, yeeted.
Yeah. The Jedi voices.
All like, there's some like some of the best
Zori
parts
and Babu Frick.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's some great stuff going on in this.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds like a door closing. A big pop.
Right on the beat.
I wonder how many takes he had to do of the like.
That was actually a real audio of Ian McDermott getting hit by lightning out on the beach.
Yeah.
Putting some images on screen.
Now,
that is some disintegration in real time. It is pretty gross. It's actually quite graphic. Like when you're taking, stills, it's very
Indiana
gruesome.
Jones classic, like melty.
But from afar, just looks like this.
Yeah, that.
Also,
look
at that Sith throne.
That's from Ralph McQuarrie concept art, right?
Oh,
from
that's
the
a good
Return
question.
of the Jedi.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so that's what the throne was. His original throne.
Oh, you're right. You're totally right.
Supposed to look like in the Return of the Jedi. So they brought it back. They brought it back.
Here we go. Image on screen. Rad. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, a former, a guest a few episodes ago, John Hoey, was saying like, if you have a birthday party here, it's like you can't bring balloons. You just.
And it's wild to think too, like they shot this entire sequence. I know I think I've told you both in one of our Acolyte gatherings, but they shot this sequence in LA at Bad Robot in their theater.
The whole Sith auditorium thing?
This entire sequence, the whole contraption that he like his like the
harness
claw thing, they built that. They took out all of the seating in the theater and they built and turned the whole thing into a giant sound booth, green screen, whatever, blue screen, I think, or whatever they used. Whoa. And they built as much of it as they could and did all of the shoots and all the reshoots for this inside a very small, I mean, not very small theater, but like definitely not a exegol auditorium of thousands kind of a thing, chanting kind of a thing. Yeah, it's really funny because, and then I got to visit. I've got to actually go to Bad Robot a few times, and it's a very fun, interesting place in Santa Monica. And I got to go to a movie night in that theater, and
nice.
My partner who works there definitely had one of those things like, Justin, Mr. Star Wars nerd. This is the place, and she started telling me all about it. I was like, no way, I'm freaking out. And
that's real
like that.
Cool.
And she's got some cool behind the scenes pictures that I'm not sure she was allowed to show me or not. But it's of the shoots of that thing of him in the contraption and all this stuff. It's kind of cool actually in an odd way. Like
very cool.
All the reshoots and all the editing, a lot of that happened in that building, right there. Wow. Which is wild to think about too.
That's so cool.
That's really cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
God, sorry, I just had a little bit of a flashback of just how excited wasn't this whole sequel trilogy era just so exciting as a Star Wars fan?
Yeah.
Just like going to the movies, not knowing what was going to happen with the story, seeing it on the screen. Even though I'm not like that, I kind of teased this movie so much. Like I had such a blast in theaters watching it that night.
No,
I went to Scum and Villainy afterwards, which is a bar in LA that's like modeled after the Cantina. And like I just had such a blast going to these movies, and I miss going to the Star Wars movies so much. And even just like geeking out about what I was hearing about the production of the movies and things like that. So yeah, just you describing the production just reminded me of those days, man. I miss it a lot. Those were good times.
Same. When we all went to Rogue One, that has got to be one of my favorite Star Wars memories with you all. It was just so much fun to see all that and to hear it's been very interesting with the reaction to this film, and then also having someone very close to me on the inside while this film was being made, and hearing actually like how much passionate work went into the film, and then to have maybe confirmed or not confirmed, as I would say, studio messing with all sorts of interesting things, and to have to like throw together an impossible task of like please all the Star Wars fans for a finale. This is all on you, all on you, my friend. And I don't know, it's just it's I agree with all the criticisms, and then at the same time I see how much passion went into this.
Oh yeah.
And you can see it, you can tell it. Like it's good, it's not, but it is. It's
like there's good bones in this movie, like
amazing.
Right, and no one's trying to make a bad movie.
No one's trying to do that. And
there's wonderful moments of this movie too that are just so cool. Like when Rey like shoots lightning out on accident, like that shit, that blew me away. I was like, what? And Kylo, the initial part with Kylo on Mustafar, that's like such a cool sequence too, and just like the cinematography and good stuff. Babu Frick is like just a classic Star Wars character, classic.
That whole desert scene where they find Lando and that whole festival going on was gorgeous.
I really like the Pisana festival.
Yeah, and then they were saying it was very cute. They're like, we hold this festival every however many years, right? And it was like the same amount of time that had passed since the original Star Wars movie, right? Which is a really cool little piece of trivia, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I think you're right. It's clearly this movie was made with a lot of love for Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael,
Totally.
Yep. And it just.
And J.J. Abrams is also a very big fan of and a very close collaborator. Like he cares a lot about the music too.
Oh,
so he went to a lot of the
yeah.
recording sessions.
He's
was very involved.
Or of all the sci-fi nerds that you could have picked, you picked the right one. You just didn't let him do what he needed to do.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Anyone else have any other?
And then speaking about things that you cut us off in this theme, Xanthi, with these minutes. So
the Force theme
with this timing. Da 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 da.
Yeah, I know the Force theme.
Let's all finish it. Real go.
And it will finish. The Force theme will not get cut off. It will actually be a full presentation of all the phrases of the Force theme.
That's awesome. That's horrible though. So your next 5 minutes, you have to jump into this.
No, you're right. You're right. It's going to be right the very end.
Halfway through the Force theme.
Yeah, actually, it's a rough start for the next one.
That is a rough start for this next stream.
Yeah, totally. I mean, also like
there's a scene coming up. If you like, I'm just thinking about the rest of the movie. Like the Return of the King comparisons cannot be ignored. There's that scene, when is she like flying the Falcon across like the burning wreckage of Exegol, right? And like when she's exiting, which is so similar to like the Eagles carrying the hobbits over Mordor. Like it's there's so much in this particular movie that just feels like Return of the King. And so, like
I need to get into Lord of the Rings at some point.
Oh, we should watch. I would watch those any day. Extended editions, all in a row.
That would be good.
I love those films.
Lord of the Rings Music Minute.
Anyone have any more thoughts about the set of minutes? There's a lot of pops at the end. I don't know what that is
a lot
exactly.
Of impacts, a lot of pops, a lot of things. It's like, and they did the sound effects team did pull that very effective emotionally and impactfully, but like also kind of a cheesy cheap move of like boom, like right at the very like beginning of that like the Force theme.
Oh, you were saying that it was on beat.
Boom, boom, ba-da-da. So they like supported that whole.
Oh yeah, actually, let's listen to that before we wrap up.
It's like she's shooting the music at him, almost kind of thing. And I am all the themes.
Did John Williams agree to be weaponized like
that? Their conductor batons come out. John Williams
is like, instead of lightsabers, it's just like 100 batons.
What is his character's name?
Omatress. Yep, you're right. You almost, you know what, you don't hear the impact of the first note of the Force theme because it's just all sound effect. I mean, it's buried. So you just hear like the second note. Da, 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 da. Yeah, there's also like, I guess it's sort of somewhat onomatopoeic sound design, perhaps.
Totally. No, it all lines up great, which is always kind of interesting for me. Like when we do these, I really like doing these podcasts and these segments because we listen to just the audio. And especially Xanthi, when you send us the audio for all these things, it's fun to listen to the soundtrack with the dialogue and with the sound effects because the sound effects are so important, especially to this scene, are so musically in time with stuff. And it's kind of weird when you go back and just listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah, because it's like something's missing.
Yeah, something's missing. I was gonna say it's not that it's weaker. It's like something's like a really integral part is missing, but to just include the sound effects into the soundtrack would be kind of odd. You know?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, the themes from these minutes are Really Bad Feeling, the main theme B section, main theme A section, Emperor, Sith Whispers, Kylo Ren, Okay, I'm going to put both of these. Kylo Ren. I'm going to just say aggressive and
Tragic
redeemed.
Ren.
Just
Yeah.
I'll put both. You pick. Yeah, up to interpretation. Ray theme. Ray B. Chimes, and then Ray A theme as well, and the Force theme. In the soundtrack, you can find
the
this
final
stuff.
countdown as well.
The final, and the final countdown. And then we also have, on the soundtrack, track 15 is "The Force is with You." You could hear stuff from these minutes on there, and also the For Your Consideration soundtrack, number 20, "Seeing Sights." Are you all ready for the Star Wars Music Minute questionnaire?
Yeah.
Great. Okay. In exactly 3 words, what does Star Wars sound like? Justin, you can go first.
I always just keep thinking back to like my old answers to these, and I always want to come up with something unique and new and thought-provoking, and it's hard because I feel like my answer is always, I just go back to like epic, sweeping, grandiose kind of a thing for me. Like,
Okay, you haven't said
many
exactly that.
Huh?
You haven't said exactly that.
But something along that lines. It's funny because, on this, we go through the shows, we go through the movies, we all have such passion for the music of Star Wars, and we've had those long discussions of like, what is Star Wars music, and how dare they add a drum set to my Star Wars music, and or like a pop song, and it's like we are constantly questioning what Star Wars music is. But for me, I guess it goes back to this orchestral, sweeping, grandiose John Williams kind of sound. That is what Star Wars sounds like.
Mm. Do you want to say epic, sweeping, grandiose, or do you said orchestral this time? Okay, great.
Epic, sweeping, and grandiose.
Previously, you said narrative and grandiose, sweeping, futuristic, and pew, pew, pew.
And pew, pew, pew. Yep, I remember that one. Pew, pew, pew.
James, your turn.
Okay, I'm going to be all deep. And I'm going to steal this from Star Wars Live in Concert. The last piece of the evening is called Peace and Promise. And so those are going to be my 3 words, is peace and promise.
Very sentimental.
Yeah, I think Star Wars has that bit of it where there's like, there's either the acceptance of, or the belief in peace. It's a very, like, it's Star Wars, right? Like we think about that, like it's this like really fun thing for the whole family, but like the name of the franchise is Star Wars. You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of like one of these things that gets like removed. It's kind of like the Beatles, where you don't like really think the Beatles is almost removed from what it actually means, which is like the name of a bug, and also like a double entendre with the word beat, right? Like, and neither of those things I think most people think of when they think of the Beatles. They think
I've
of
never thought of that in my life.
Right,
So
right, exactly. It's just like this thing that equals those 4 people, and I think Star Wars is similar to that. Where if you really think about it, you're like Star Wars, like the wars of the stars. It's kind of like whatever. But the point being is that I think that Star Wars at its core isn't actually about all the fighting and conflict and all those things. It's actually about people, the promise of peace, the promise of a better world, a promise of a better way of connecting with the universe, a better way of just balancing these elements of life. And I think that the music shows that. It's very optimistic music, like the music, even when it goes dark and evil,
it always triumphs.
Yeah. And it still has a level of like lightness to it. It doesn't go into like, like deep, dark pits of despair. It doesn't really do that. Sometimes when people are like, I want an R-rated show in the Star Wars universe about Boba Fett, and I want it to be R-rated and have blood and gore. You're like, do you like Star Wars? Because that's not freaking Star Wars, okay? So I don't know. So yeah, peace and promise.
I like
Write it down.
I did. It's written. Previously, you said pew, vroom, vroom, and bum, 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 and the band batch.
Yeah, there you go.
Question number 2. What is something related to Star Wars music or sound that you want to learn more about?
I should go first this time.
And James, you can go first this time. Yeah.
So yeah, I think what I would love to know more about is I asked this question on our recent review of the LA Phil, which is like I just want to, given watching how they locked everything to picture on a click track when they were performing that at the LA Phil, because they had to like literally make sure that everything was, all of the parts were being like nailed right in time. And a lot of times music is written in that way, where it's like for a film where it's like locked into very specific spots. I want to see John Williams's, this is probably something I've probably expressed being interested in finding out, but not specific to this part, which is like I do want to just like watch them have score the movies, you know. But I also am I want to see how the timing of all the music works. Like, how does John Williams meet the moments? And like, I don't know. I haven't been part of those sessions before, so I would love to see John Williams be like, "All right, we landed it right there. Okay, now let's do it over again. Come on, let's see if we can like stretch that section out, and I'll try to get us." You know, I want to see those workshopped moments of trying to deal with the time aspect of scoring, especially when you're a composer like John Williams, that I imagine doesn't do too many things. On a grid, or do you? Does he use a click track these days? I don't know.
Very rarely. He's for Star Wars. Rarely is what I hear from musicians.
That's amazing. That's freaking amazing.
Yeah. So you want to see how the timing lines up, and you mean not in the composition process. You mean like in the scoring sessions.
Yeah, I mean,
there's
probably yeah, exactly. I think there's probably a bit of that, but like, you know, like if you take something at a slightly different tempo than you like should have, and that time adds up after a 5-minute section, you know, like you're like, whoa, we are not hitting the beats that we should be hitting right now because we're like 5 clicks too slow, you know, like that time adds up. So I think that process sounds impossible to me, because the times that I've scored music, like I do things so exactly, and it's on that grid. The idea of then trying to get an ensemble to score it live and conduct it live is, I mean, you would know better than I would, Xanthi. You do this during those Star Wars live score, like those live moments. You know, you're kind of like scoring a read, and to a certain extent. So I don't know. This whole thing is very interesting to me. You know, so
that's a good answer. Previously, you said, when original voice actors are replaced by new people, what are those industry conversations like? Is there something in the actors' contracts about the possibility of being replaced? And what about SAG, legal specifics, etc.?
Yeah.
That was a very specific point in time, probably. Oh, because we were talking about Empire Strikes Back. Yeah.
But, yeah, it was with Boba Fett, yeah.
Yeah. And then you also said, what does on-set sound like? And what is John Williams' writing process like?
Okay. Wow, that first
so
answer
what about,
is pretty basic.
Yeah, but it's also one I want to know too. Everyone wants to know. What about you, Justin?
Damn, can I know my previous answers?
Yeah. Previously you've said, no, it's okay. Previously, you've said, who makes the decision to replace dialogue? And then, how is all the Foley done?
Okay. So in an oddly similar kind of, okay, so I'm not too different, but also not exactly the same. Yeah, I was going to say, I would love to, see the sound library of Star Wars, of every Star Wars approved sound that these sound editors and composers and people that can come in and like can pick from, whether they just drop it in or whether they take it from inspiration, of like, this is the gonk droid, this is our gonk library, this is like happy gonk, sad gonk, angry gonk, you know what I mean? It's like I want to see that library like tree of folders, and like I would just be very fascinated in seeing that, and along with that, in the sense of Foley and creation, how much is not used, how much is just generated to just have, kind of.
You mean how many sounds are used?
Yeah, like how many sounds are created and not used? Like, what have we not heard that exist? How often are these things like, is there like every now and then like a team just making, like, kind of what we were talking about, like making risers for fun, like just
like for the future,
as much as they like, this could be a future droid, you know, like let's like think of droid things today. And then also, this is a multi answer along that same line. I would love to know more about droid sounds. and how they get what's the process of thinking of them besides bleep bloops, but like how they make them so conversational and how they like really make it feel like you're interacting and talking with a droid, kind of thing, even though we can't understand a darn thing that they're saying. I think that's really fascinating.
Yeah.
Like the Andor droid. What was the little droid's name in Andor?
B2 Emo?
Oh, Emo. Bmo, Timo, whatever. Yeah. He was so expressive. He couldn't understand a darn thing that thing was saying. I think that stuff's fascinating.
Yeah.
I would love to know more about that.
Top 3 droids for you?
K2SO, even though he speaks English. I would say, yeah, K2SO is one of my all-time favorites. I really like. I think BB-8's sound design is just. It's easy to pick R2D2, because it's so like.
Okay, I'll say 3 favorite besides R2D2. Then we'll take R2D2 out.
Right, I would say BB-8 for sure. I think is so interesting and expressive and like similar but very different to R2D2. It's like they took the same like language and just gave it a different dialect.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like now he's Southern. It's R2D2 who's Southern or something like that. So like the same words but like slightly different. And then I would say not the mouse. The mouse droids are cute, but it's I really like. I don't know what the droids is called. The security door droids in Return of the Jedi. Jabba the Hutt's palace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
That. And then we had one in Acolyte as well. I think appeared in Acolyte as
and
in
The Mandalorian too.
Yep, and in Mandalorian. Yep, yeah. I really like those droids. I think it's like a really cool sound design.
That's great. Great answer. Final question is: what is a score or soundtrack that you're fond of besides anything Star Wars? Justin, you can go first.
Oh man, too many.
You can name a couple.
If it's Star Wars related, not Star Wars related, but like kind of adjacent, I think John Williams soundtrack to both Hook and his the Steven Spielberg War of the Worlds are both really brilliant in different ways. I think those are great. I've been really digging the soundtrack to lately though. Because we just came out of spooky season and I've been obsessed doing the spooky quizzes, which both of you participated so wonderfully. Thank you so much.
It was really fun.
It was so much fun. Definitely expect that happening again because I had a blast doing that. The some of the things that the score to It Follows is really good.
Disaster Piece.
Disaster Piece. The score to It Follows. The score to Smile, I thought was. Really
I heard that was a very messed up movie.
It's very messed up but fun. The soundtrack is very interesting too because out of context, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's so good. In the context kind of a thing, and then a soundtrack to a movie that I have not seen, but I know the soundtrack to. Because of how good people have been hailing it, is I Saw the TV Glow.
Oh.
It is an A24 film.
Who composed it?
I forget. It's like almost
Alex
like
G.
Huh?
Is it a soundtrack? Like
it is the soundtrack to a movie called I Saw the TV Glow.
Yeah. I really want to see that movie. It's on my list.
And it's
for the near future.
It's supposed to be a really, really great movie.
And so you mean the soundtrack of the placed music, not like the original score?
No, like all of it. Like just
okay.
whatever they released as, which I think is like both compilation and like everything they put into it and then everything they made for it is really, really interesting.
Nice. Your previous answers are pretty funny.
Oh no.
I mean, they're not that funny. The last season you said It Follows. Also, and I'm now wondering
It follows last time.
I'm wondering if we recorded around like spooky season last time or something.
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, it's good. It's really good.
And then you've also said Stranger Things, War of the Worlds, and The Village.
Yeah, Village is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. And you, James.
Trying to think of what I said in the last one. So,
Do you want to know? No, Justin didn't get to know.
So, okay, I think, two of my favorite movies are The Darjeeling Limited and Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, both Wes Anderson movies. Yeah, I think he's pretty well known for his needle drops. And Darjeeling Limited had all these like classic Indian cinema needle drops that he's basically film music that's from other films, but just he uses them in that movie. It's just a great collection of classic indie music. It also has like a bunch of Kinks songs on it. It's really great. Life Aquatic is also another one that's got some great original music on that soundtrack, and also just some great, he's got Seu Jorge, who does a bunch of Brazilian, Portuguese versions of David Bowie songs, which is great. So both of the soundtracks are awesome. What's another good one? I don't know. We'll stay there. We'll stay with that one for this week and or this time, and then next time I'm trying to remember what I said last time. So
previously you said The Shining, Wendy Carlos, Untitled, David Lang, and Hereditary, Colin Stetson.
All fantastic.
Yeah. Well, thanks, friends. Thanks for doing another episode with me. Tell people where they can find you online.
You can find me at jameswatermanmusic.com or at jameswatermanmusic on the Instagram, or just James Waterman on Spotify.
You can find my Instagram, JC Scheid. You can find my Bandcamp, Rain Goat Music. And you can find me on Spotify, but not under my name, but under my duet or my duet group, my two people group. I don't know. Other people. Duo. That's what I wanted to. That's the word. Other people on Spotify.
Nice.
We did.
And you should definitely check them out. If you're listening to this around spooky season time next year, check out Justin's Instagram as well for spooky music quizzes.
So fun.
Yeah, really fun. You can I'll put links to where you can find Star Wars Music Minute and myself, Chrysanthi Tan, in the show notes. Only a few episodes left this season. Next episode, we will be tackling the Reylo kiss, so definitely stay tuned for that. Have lots of discussion about that, I'm sure.
Wow.
There's also a very interesting musical part in it, so just a little teaser. But that's all I have for today. Thanks for listening to Star Wars Music Minute, and may the Force be with you. Woo!